if everyone join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. All right. Good evening. If Allison, Michael, and Nathan would come on up. These are our directors of development services and our facilities, recreation, and municipal services, and they don't get enough good due. So let's give them a round of applause for all the hard work. They and their teams do an excellent job in our city, so I'm very excited to recognize Public Works Week for May 20th through 26th. Whereas Public Works is a critical and integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas public works systems and programs include water, sewers, streets, streetlights, traffic signals, public buildings, parks, engineering, transit, and solid waste collection. And whereas the health, safety, and well-being of Turlock greatly depends on public works facilities and services. And whereas public works is in concert with public safety, they're both critical to the mitigation and resolution of natural and man-made disasters. And whereas the effectiveness of the qualified and dedicated personnel who serve in the public works profession can be enhanced by increasing our citizens' understanding of the importance of the work they perform. And whereas this year's theme, the power of public works, gives voice to the impact of public works on modern civilization, from providing clean water to disposing of solid waste, to building roads and bridges or planning for and implementing mass transit, to maintaining beautiful parks or devising emergency management strategies to meet natural or man-made disasters. Public works services help determine society's quality of life. Now, therefore, I, Gary Sorseth, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Turlock, and on behalf of the entire city council and all our citizens, do hereby proclaim May 20th through 26th, 2018 as Public Works Week in Turlock, and call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions public works personnel make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Congratulations. There she is.
Thank you, Mayor and Council and community. It is my honor tonight to thank you for this recognition, and I accept it on behalf of my colleagues, but most importantly, on behalf of all of our staff, because without them, we would not be able to deliver the high level of customer service that we do every day. And I think what makes the city of Turlock so unique is that our departments work cooperatively every single day in order to achieve our goals. And so I'm very appreciative of the partnership that we have with both the Municipal Services Department and Engineering Development Services. And we're just very happy to be a part of this city and to serve our citizens. So thank you so much.
All right. This next one is deeply special to the entire community, not just the Sikh community. And so today, I'd like to ask Surjit Singh and Devinder Bains and a few other leaders if you'd like to come up and accept this proclamation recognizing the Sikh genocide. So if you want to come on up, Surjit. Who else did you want to come on up? Who else? Hey, how are you? Thanks for coming. Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Oh, good seeing you. Right. Absolutely. So this is a somber proclamation, but it's necessary. So I'm glad that we're able to do that today here in the city of Turlock. Whereas the city of Turlock recognizes that in June 1984, an attack was ordered against the holiest Sikh shrine, the Golden Temple in Amritsar, India, resulting in the killing of more than 2,000 Sikhs and the burning of several dozen gurdwaras. And whereas the city of Turlock recognizes that in November 1984, after the assassination of India's prime minister, an organized and systemic attack was ordered and carried out against the Sikh population throughout India's capital, Delhi, and throughout 100 cities and 18 states across the country, resulting in mass killings with a clear intent to destroy the Sikh population. Whereas, despite widespread effort to seek justice, hundreds of criminal cases pertaining to Sikh murders in 1984 were closed by the police and have not been reopened. And whereas after 26 years, in February 2011, in the village in the state of Haryana, mass graves of Sikhs were unearthed and new evidence was discovered containing graves, ruined villages, burnt gurdwaras, and other traces of unaccounted victims. And whereas the official government of India reported that the 1984 Sikh genocide accounted for an overall 30,000 lives lost, over 300,000 Sikhs displaced, and over 1,000 gurdwaras destroyed. And whereas today, Sikhism is the 5th largest religion in the world, with more than 23 million Sikhs worldwide and an estimated 250,000 Americans of Sikh origin, with California comprising nearly 40% of the nation's estimated Sikh population alone. And whereas Sikh Americans pursue diverse professions and walks of life, making rich contributions to the social, cultural, and economic vibrancy of the United States, including service as members of the United States Armed Forces, contributing to our great nation in agriculture, trucking, medicine, and technology, and have distinguished themselves by fostering greater respect among all people through faith and service. And whereas today, the city of Turlock seeks to further the diversity of its community and afford all residents the opportunity to better understand, recognize, and appreciate the rich history and experiences of Sikh Americans. Now, therefore, I, Gary Soyset, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Turlock, do hereby proclaim 2018 as Sikh Genocide Day and offer our remembrance and condolence to those lives lost and those lives who suffered from this horrific devastation. Thank you so much.
Well, let me start for thank you, heartily thankful to the Mr. Mayor, City Council, and the community members. You know, Sikhs are minority. Sikhs are actually less than 2% of the Indian population. And all the minorities, including Christians, Muslims, and Sikhs, have to go through majority time atrocities just to survive. And 1984, after the Indira Gandhi's assassination, the gang rape with the minors took on New Delhi streets. Not even one single politician has been arrested to this day. That is called for such a largest democracy in the world is India. So by bringing these kind of things, because we have made this country to our home, Turlock to our home, and we are here to stay, we are first generation here. And for city to recognize our pain as their pain is a huge thing for us. We are so thankful from bottom of our heart to recognize this day as a Sikh Genocide Day. Most of the time it's considered to be that it was just a fight among the Hindus and Sikhs. It was not a fight. Fight is when both people are equally armed. Police was on their side, military was on their side, and government on their side. So you don't call this fight. It was well-planned Sikh genocide, and once again, we thank you very much for making us feel home. God bless. God bless. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bal Sindal. I work with the District Attorney's Office as a victim advocate. I'm also a Sikh, and I'm speaking in behalf of Surjit Mali because he does not want to speak today. We would like to thank you from the bottom of our heart for recognizing the Sikh genocide in 1984. I just want to say thank you.
Good evening, my fellow Americans, Honorable Mayor, respected City Council members, As we gather here today to recognize the 1984 Sikh genocide that took place in New Delhi, India, we are reminded of the wisdom of American Nobel laureate Pearl S. Buck, and to quote her, "If you want to understand today, you have to search yesterday." Yesterday, in 1776, we all know these famous words of Thomas Jefferson, which forms the founding principles of America. We hold these beliefs to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Just 70 years prior to the declaration of the American principles, in the other side of the world, on the Indian subcontinent in Punjab, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the 10th master founder of Sikhism, shattered the 3,000 years old Hindu Brahminical caste system of the elite, for the elite, and by the elite. This system that enforced that all are not created equal, and certain are created higher than the masses of India's population, thus creating the caste system which pervades India today. Guru Gobind Singh created a martial order of the Sikhs called the Khalsa and raised the sword against an all-out battle against tyranny of the overlords and the upper caste elites. For the next 10 years, Guru Gobind Singh Ji sacrificed everything to attain inalienable rights for the most downtrodden of society, referred by the elite caste as worms and untouchables. In 2009, the United States Commission on Religious Freedom placed India on its watch list, citing India's violence against its religious groups as a reason. Over the past decade, India has seen persecutions, pogroms, massacres, rapes of Dalits, Christians, Muslims, and Sikhs. The current Prime Minister of India was himself implicated in orchestrating the murders of Muslims in India. Laws to enforce conversion to Hindu religions are enacted. Here are some of the latest headlines relating to today's India, what's happening in India today. December 16, 2017, the National Herald had these headlines: Christians warned against celebrating Christmas by Hindu nationalists. December 17, 2017, the Christian Post reads, 30 seminary students arrested for singing Christmas carols. December 21, 2017, the Telegraph, UK reads, right-wing Hindu groups warns Christians to celebrate Christmas at their own risk. December 19, 2017, the Daily Express UK, car of a Christian priest set on fire. There are so many headlines of lynching, rape, and murder, just like 1984 never ceased. 1984 still exists today. When we commemorate and remember the genocide of 1984, we learn of new killings, rapes, and tortures, not only of Sikhs, but also of Dalits, Christians, Muslims, women, and other victims of Hindutva nationalism. We applaud the city officials for showing courage. We are also grateful to the Turlock community, the Sikh Sangat, and the Sikh Gurdwaras for making this day happen. We also pray that our Creator continues to guide the leaders of the city to continue to be courageous in their pursuit of happiness for everyone, all Turlock, all Americans, all human beings in the world. And we also are grateful to our community leaders, Mr. Surjit Singh, Bao, Mr. Brar, so many good citizens of Turlock here who made our country great. Thank you, everyone. May God bless every one of us.
I want to just say thank you so much for coming to receive this, and I know that this was very somber, but I do want to take a moment to pause and just say thank you to the entire Sikh community here in Turlock for all that you do. Whether there are floods in the north or wildfires in the south, You guys collect blankets and food and water, and you go out there and you serve your community, not just Turlock, but the wider community. You're on our highways where you're cleaning up the freeways. You're at our Christmas parades and our 4th of July parades, handing out water and making sure that everyone gets cookies and hot chocolate. And that's the type of diversity in Turlock that makes us so strong. And we are just so thankful to have you all here as a part of our community and being so selfless in your service to the residents of Turlock. So I just want to say thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause. Oh, sure. Yeah, we can take. You guys ready? Oh, on the side. Sorry. No problem. Perfect. All right. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. For those of you new to the City of Turlock meetings, we clap a lot and we take a lot of pictures, so I apologize for that. Moving on, special briefings, we have none. Public participation, this is the time set aside for the public to address the audience on any item that they'd like. They'd be limited to 5 minutes. I have some blue cards in the back if you'd like to fill those out, and you can hand them to the officer who will bring them up. But let's kick it off with our library. Diane Bartlett, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council members. Good evening, members of the community. My name's Diane Bartlett. I'm the supervising librarian at our Turlock Public Library. And I'm here to let you know that today is the first day of our summer reading challenge. And what does that mean for you? Well, if you are between the ages of 0 to 8, you can come in, and for every day that you read 30 minutes or more, you mark a bubble. After 7 days of reading, you get a special treat out of our treasure box. You could get a special rubber ducky, or you could get a unicorn, or a bouncy ball, or maybe a notebook, or various other things. Also, at the end of the summer, you'll have a chance to win a $50 gift certificate and from our branch, and a $200 gift certificate. One lucky person will get that system-wide. If you are between the ages of 9 to 18, for every hour that you read, you mark a square. For every 7 hours, you have a chance to win a $25 gift certificate. And also at the end of the summer, you could win $50 or $200. And if you happen to be 18 or older and review a book for me, you will be put into a drawing for gift baskets, thanks to our friends of the library. And at the end of the summer, you too could win $200 or a quilt. So I challenge you to come in, sign up for summer reading, read a little bit more this summer, and I know you're going to be reading even when you go and travel. If you travel, bring us back a postcard, and we'll put it up on our postcard wall. We have a world map, and we'll mark out all the different countries that you are going to visit this summer. So it's going to be a fun summer at the library, and we'll see you there. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Diane. Mr. Youngdale, I know that this is on the Pentecost Parade. Do you want to wait till the item, or do you want to do it now?
I'll wait.
Okay, perfect. I'll just keep it on the side. Paula Rye.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I wanted to update you guys on this, and ma'am, this Saturday we had our annual boot drive, and the event went very well. We were able to raise $12,000. So yeah, that's. And I couldn't tell you how generous the community was. It was amazing. Just every year we do this, it's just amazing. Just the Turlock community is so generous and so wonderful. So I thank you. Without you guys, we couldn't do it. So So I wanted to share, what the money does and where it goes. First and foremost, it goes back to the community. We don't take any from that fund. It all goes back to the community. We purchase bicycles, food for families, families affected by fire, school ground equipment, school programs, school scholarships, programs affected by theft, beds for children that are covered in bed bugs, those type of calls, and many, many other items. And our firefighters see the need of the community firsthand. The other day we went on a checkout for a family, and an anonymous neighbor called, and they were concerned for a neighbor. So when we arrived, there was a grandmother who's the sole provider for her grandchildren, and on a limited income, couldn't afford to get her stove fixed. So we called around, and through our relationship with Lowe's, we were able to purchase a new stove, and actually had PG&E come out and hook it up for her. So there was no safety issues with that. So these are the programs that we give to. For example, another example, we call our charitable fund Random Act of Kindness. And there was a family that was passing through Turlock that had car trouble, and specifically their tire. They didn't have the time or the funds to fix their tire. They were going through, won't go into detail with that. But anyways, we got their tire fixed, put them up for the night because it was so late, and got them breakfast for the next day. And that's just, it's extension of how we treat our citizens here in Turlock and how we treat each other. And there's more stories, some that really stick with me, but I'm not going to share. I'm going to spare you the details, because you see, we as firefighters, we go into families' homes in their worst times, and we see things that, let me just say, unfortunate. And when we see these things, it really sticks to us, because even though we did all we could on that call, and we have this thought in the back of our mind, I wish we could have done more, and that's really why we have this program, and why we donate so much and volunteer our own time. Everything's off duty, and we care for the community so much, and those calls are what stick with us. So I don't know if you could tell, but this is why the boot drive is so meaningful to the fire department and the union, so we can give back the little that, because we get so much from our community. So it pains me to hear that, there's people attacking our integrity or our tent. And to say that I'm offended or insulted is an understatement. So I'm appalled that I have to mention this part of it, that our actions are being questioned, integrities are being questioned. And I want to say it's just takes a little education, and I'm open for phone call. I'm very easy to get a hold of, and so is our union page. We normally reply within if not minutes, within hours. So if anyone has any questions, they can contact me easily. And I just want to say that we are, as firefighters, are unfortunately vulnerable to attacks, insults, and accusations of wrongdoing. And we are sometimes a punching bag, if you will. But I know we are here for the right reasons, and most importantly, the right people. So the Turlock Charitable Foundation, or the Charitable Fund in RAC, we don't want to be part of anyone's personal vendetta or any personal issues that they may have. The people deserve better in this program. So I just want to thank you for your support, council and mayor, and thank you, citizens, for your generous donations to our program. And we'll keep fighting the fight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Mr. Johnson. Is Mr. Johnson here? I think he might have just stepped out, so we'll keep him on the side. Mr. Treeweiler. Comes with
Little
handouts.
handout coming around.
There we go. Thank you.
Mayor, council, staff, and Turlock citizens, Milt Treeweiler. And I have a couple items I want to bring up tonight. One of them is the rainfall, Turlock seasonal rainfall. I keep track of this for everyone here in Turlock. I know you don't have an opportunity to do that. So far this season, and our season is in essence over, we won't get much rain between now and July 31st, the last day of the season. We've had 9.65 inches, and that's even less than we had in the drought year of 2014-15, where we had 10.75, and it's half of what we had last year. So I always bring this to your attention because it's so important that we take care of the precious water we have here in Turlock. There are several things you can do. One thing you can do is actually reduce your water use on your lawns. And I'm even going to propose something here. I don't have a lawn anymore. I took out my front yard lawn, my backyard lawn. If you want to, you can drive by my house. I'm on North Soderquist. I have cactuses. I have drought-tolerant plants, and I planted a couple crepe myrtles, which are very drought-tolerant. They'll get to be tree size, about 25 feet tall. And it would be nice if we could actually reduce the size of our lawns. It's not that hard to do, and actually you can really put in a nice yard without a lawn. At least reduce your lawns by half the size. We are going to have issues with water again. The drought is a reality. It's something that's here to stay. I mean, we do have our wet years, which was the last rainy season. That's over with, and we'll probably be back in a drought cycle. I know we're going to have less water than we need in the future. It's already been predicted. It will happen. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing I wanted to talk about, and this is on the handout to the council, is something that Albert Einstein wrote after he returned on a trip to the East in 1922, the end of 1922. And the article can be found in the Smithsonian Magazine. This is the May issue. I'm not advertising them, but it is an excellent magazine if you want to get good information on science. Last month they had an issue on artificial intelligence. It's connected with the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C., so it's a great magazine to read. But anyway, in this essay published in 1923, Einstein's contrasting Western culture with that of Japan. Western culture is characterized by individualism in the extreme, cutthroat competition exerting one's utmost energy, feverish laboring to acquire as much luxury and indulgence as possible. The Japanese, on the other hand, are characterized by harmony and equanimity, strong family bonds, and public civility enforced by social norms. Einstein ended on a note of warning. The Japanese rightfully admire the intellectual achievements of the West, and immerses himself successfully in the great idealism in the sciences. But let him not thereby forget to keep pure the great attributes in which he is superior to the West. The artful shaping of life, modesty, and unpretentiousness in his personal needs, and the purity and calm of the Japanese soul. I believe that this is something that we need to instill in ourselves, our city, which we try immensely. I mean, I'm not saying we don't try. We do try, and we are doing a great job here in Turlock. Let's just keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Mr. True, I do truly appreciate your updates on this, and you are leading by example for sure. So thank you so much for all your efforts. I don't know. My handout. Anybody else from the audience like to address the council? Yes, Mr. Francis. Good evening.
Yes, I'd like to address the firefighters' random act of kindness that was just brought forth. So I heard all of the good stuff about it, and I've also promoted it myself, like over the course of years, and I think it does a great job on actually helping those that are less fortunate. It doesn't matter if it's a child or adult, I've seen it. And I've also appreciated what the firefighters do. What was mentioned as a possible attack, I believe, could have been because I sent an email with questions that have arose from the public. One was actually a screenshot during a Facebook Live when I was out there, and someone just asked what was the difference between them and the firefighters standing out in the center divider and the homeless panhandlers. So that was a question someone brought up. I passed it along, and I did receive an answer stating that there was a law that allowed him to do that. So I was just trying to get the answer to that. Then I had someone else bring up, due to the situation we're in with election season, and that the firefighters have a union that are involved in political action. And I believe most of you have been endorsed by them or received some sort of contributions. So with the issue with the police not getting funding that they need, and the police officers saying that they're overworked with overtime, and that they were trying to get positions and they're trying to get salary increases because we can't even get applicants. And we see some issues where the police department somehow can't get things agendized. And then people have pointed out how the firefighters can get things agendized and get things passed. So people were asking these questions. I asked questions regarding several different issues that I believe that the other public members also have some of these questions, and over the years, it's not just with this council. And people just want the laws and the rules followed, and they want fairness. Because right now, a lot of people are upset because the police officers can't seem to get the action that, again, I could say firefighters, I could say the maintenance workers, I could say anyone. So a lot of people are thinking this council doesn't prioritize police officers in the police department. And there's even contention with our council, or some members of the council, our interim city manager and police chief. The interim city manager happens to be from the fire department. So people are asking these questions. All I'm doing is asking the same questions that everyone else has, or a lot of people have, and even that you've heard also come up here in a different context. Now, through these questions, the first one was just, hey, is this allowed? Someone from the public sent it. I sent the screenshot to you. And then I get a partial law sent back in an email to me. And there were several questions. Most of it was regarding on-duty personnel issues and city liability, by the way. It had nothing to do with the firefighters, their great causes, and all the work that they were doing out there. And I get a partial law back just saying that this is allowed by these people. Now, it's saying in a manner of off-duty and to do charitable work. Now, they do have to work for, I believe, an agency protecting the public, like fire or police. So, but this law also has other things in there too where, other people can't be doing this. And so, of course, there's videos and pictures of some other people, but these are legitimate questions, again, for the city. It has nothing to do with the firefighters or, even their political action or them on their off duty and doing all the great things in the community. This has to do with the city government. I sent it to the interim city manager, and then he includes 2 members of the union in the email and makes it political. There are legalities that the city has to answer, which is, hey, first of all, it's just a question. Are they off duty or on duty? Is the city liable if they cause an accident, or if one of them gets hit by a car? Is the city responsible or not? The 2 fire engines out there, are those city owned? Are they actually on duty, off duty? Is that going to be the city's liability? Are those allocations that you guys have approved? Are these work assignments? Plus we also have political rhetoric about firefighter fatigue. So now you guys have made some issues up that people are actually asking questions. And I don't think it's right to say it's an attack on them or their event of random acts of kindness. I don't think anyone has a problem with anyone helping the community out. But some of us are actually working on keeping sound policy set and following laws, rules, protocols, procedure. And to say that's an attack is, that's actually political. So thank you.
Thank you. Real quick, I guess that's for the city attorney. Were any laws broken? Were they in compliance with all the rules?
The law that Mr. Franson received from the city is actually Business and Professions Code 17510.25, which allows for this type of event to happen. So that is legal. regarding, and before coming in, I tried to get the answer regarding whether there was anybody on duty there, and I believe the answer was no, that there was no firefighters were on duty while they were there. Regarding the law does require insurance requirements to be provided, an application to be provided to the city, and I believe that the city clerk has copies of all of those and was ready to respond to a public records request that Mr. Franson provided yesterday.
Okay, yeah, Chief Carlson, do you have more insights?
Mr. Sanchez is correct. Each member that was soliciting funds for the Fill the Boot organization was, in fact, off-duty on their own time. It's a complete separate issue from the firefighter fatigue that we brought up to fill the vacant positions that we did have. In addition, some of the questions were regards to the signage. The Random Acts of Kindness Committee rented that on their own, had no affiliation with the city. They obtained permission from the property owner at the Crossroads Complex to use that for the trailer to count the money. Everything was done exactly as it's been done for the last 15 or 20 years since before I've been here. The one question that Mr. Franson's asking about the fire engine being there, yes, there was an on-duty engine. They were not taking part in the solicitation of funds. They just were out there to support for a short time. For the last 20 years or so since I've been here, or 18 years since we've had the truck, the council, the chiefs, city manager have all allowed the truck to be out there representing the flag as part of this. It's very normal. If you watch the news today, Sacramento just did their Fill the Boot on a much grander scale and had the same equipment, the same personnel, with the same off-duty firefighters out there soliciting funds to give to their charities. I know, and the union can speak to this, that the Random Acts of Kindness, yes, being part of the union, is part of the union, but is completely separate. It's a charitable organization. They have separate boards from the union and the political action. All they do is give money straight back to the community, and I think they're well over $200,000 between all their charitable events at this point. So the long answer to your short question is yes, everything has been done, all I's dotted and T's crossed, as it has been for the last 20 years.
Perfect, thank you so much for the clarification. Yes?
Thank you, Chief. As you can hear, the Union Iraq members were copied to provide answers to the questions that did come up. I don't really understand, me being the fire chief and city manager, the last two former city managers were police chiefs. I don't understand the implication of one having to do with the other. And I think Chief Carlson and the union president answered the questions, and that there's certainly contact me if there's any more questions, need more information. You can give me any time.
Perfect, thank you. And I hear that we're treating it as a Public Records Act request, so we have the 10 days to get you those forms. So we'll get those as soon as possible to you, Mr. Franson. Thanks for your questions. Mr. Frank Johnson, I skipped over you, and you're back. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I am deeply disappointed in the men on the council. I was sent a picture of an event. Already, there's issues of how a female is treated on this council. Being hollered at, cussed at. And at this event, she was put in the back seat. All you men sitting in the front, along with a gentleman that's not even on the council, which should have been her chair. And you as the mayor, you didn't say a word. You did not even recognize the only female and bring her forward and put her in the seat that she so rightfully owned and should have been there. Right here. This is her in the back. Not one of you got up to give her a seat in the front. The other issue is SWRA or RWA, the water stand, whatever. You've shifted everybody off the water. My understanding is that you took taxpayers' money and gave it to TID under that with your signature, which is being investigated, because that's conflict. You being an employee of MID, which is open for the same service, you partnered with TID. The other issue is you so love Turlock. Right in front of your own residence, 2 women were hit by a car. But yet you can't even recognize the fact that there's not a crosswalk. There is on the other side. I'm not going to name the street because I'm not going to put your address out there. That's your business. But right there in front of your house, students cross that bridge to go to school. Years. And you haven't even noticed. No sidewalk, no crosswalk, speeds up as 45 to 50 miles an hour. You know I'm telling the truth. And on the other side of the bridge, there's a crosswalk. And not only is there another problem, your residents, your neighbors, are complaining about traffic inside the white line. Flying through there. They step out to get in their car, which shouldn't be any traffic. There should be another line designating a bike lane for that strip. There's other issues. Mayor, Pandora's box is open. So, you know what I'm talking about, and I'm gonna leave it at that. I'll bring forth everything else at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, if I can just take a moment to respond. The gentleman that you mentioned in that photograph is my brother. He's a former city commissioner and was with me that day. There were open seats. I think if you were to zoom out a little bit on that photo to the left of the podium, there were front row seats that were vacant. So I'm not sure why Councilmember Bublak wasn't able to sit there, but if in any way my actions or my brother's actions offended you, my sincerest apologies.
Thank you.
Councilmember Bublak, would you like to speak to that?
I don't know what the picture he's talking about, so I can't look at it.
Do you know which event it was at, Mr. Johnson?
Huh?
Which event it was at? Oh, the Veterans Day?
In which case I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah.
In which case I'd like to make a comment. Mr. Johnson, thank you very much for pointing out the picture. I am the only U.S. veteran having served in the Marine Corps for 22 years, 8 months, and 13 days. Regrettably, I was unable to attend the event, so I was not part of the story that you portrayed.
So, do you have anything?
I'm glad you brought that up. As far as a veteran is concerned, I'm also a veteran. And I have another photo that's disturbing. It says, join Mayor Gary Sosa and the city of Turlock in honoring our Vietnam veterans. And it has the National Defense ribbons. You are not a veteran. And this looks political, which cannot be done right here. You're not a veteran, so why are you advertising National Defense ribbons under your name?
Nor am I proposing that I am a veteran. I'll take those in order. So just real quick, Councilmember Bublak, did you have any comments on? I don't. Okay. I think that, again, I'm the MC of that. I sit on the Veterans Committee, and we created the Vietnam Veterans Commemoration
Did you talk to any of the veterans of Vietnam?
We do. We meet at the VFW actually quarterly, and they actually were the ones that would put that together.
Well, I was told no.
So, Amber, Allison, if you want to come speak to it, we meet quarterly, actually at the VFW hall, and that's where we put this together. We did as a
Well,
council
the
adopt to be
gentleman
in
that I
Vietnam.
spoke to is a commander with the VFW, and he told me no.
Okay,
And there's my ID with the Vietnam vet.
okay, I'm not questioning that, absolutely, yeah.
And just a reminder, the item is not on the agenda
Correct.
for discussion, just a
Thank
quick
you.
response. A quick response is allowed under the Brown Act, but just a quick brief response.
Absolutely, I'll give a quick response. I was the MC of the event, and when we started, actually, that seat that I was sitting in was open because I sat on the other side. So Councilmember Black could have moved up if she would have liked to. And I asked everyone just to take their seat. There was no assigned seating, so I apologize. Maybe we'll have assigned seating next time. Allison, that's a great idea, that we make sure that everyone has their spot. As far as SRWA, I work for the Modesto Irrigation District, which is different than the Turlock Irrigation District. They're separate, and so there is no conflict there.
Oh, but there is, we have the proof.
Okay, and
And in fact,
quick-
you shouldn't be talking to me. In fact, the Attorney General is definitely interested in what we have. Thank you.
And then finally,
Again, you shouldn't be talking.
okay.
This is public comment, and you was just warned by the attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I'll talk to staff real quick. Can we please follow up on the corner, I think I see Allison, about the potential crosswalk in my neighborhood that Mr. Johnson came and witnessed? I think that we can see if that's needed, and we can take a look at that. That'd be great. Great. Thank you so much. All right, moving on. Anyone else from the public like to address the council on any item? Yes, please. Yeah, yep, microphone.
Hello, name is Eric Cervantes, Modesto Junior College student, and I want to address the cannabis dispensary subject. Is that something that you guys are looking on moving forward? Is that going to be a completely no, something in the future? Any answers?
Yeah.
I feel like
brief answers, yeah.
I feel like everything, like the whole industry is just, they don't know where this is going, and I guess I'm here for answers.
City Attorney.
Yes, Mayor. So, great comment that did come up at a workshop that the City Council just had a few weeks ago regarding bringing the item related to cannabis, cannabis businesses, and whether to allow them in the city of Turlock. That is going to be coming before the City Council, most likely at at some type of workshop, most likely, for the council to look at what they can do, what they can't do, and decide what's best for Turlock.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Any additional questions or comments from the audience? Yes, in the back.
Good evening. My name is Diana Lynn Kaysen. Mayor Gary Soyseth, Vice Mayor DeHart, and all council members. I'm sitting in the back today. I usually sit in front. I'm disabled, but I have invisible disabilities. I have the anxiety disorders. So for my disability, sit in the front, I can focus, not be distracted. Last time I was here, I was sitting in one seat there, and I was asked to move because my disability wasn't evident. And what happened is, and it's repeating itself this time, we had Mr. Johnson, Mr. Frank Johnson, former Mayor Brad Bates, and TJ the skateboarder, and everybody has this hostility. And there's many people in our community who have disabilities, and we also have people all ages that may have sensory deficits and need to be in the front row. I would just like to throw this out as a recommendation for those that are coming with a hostile agenda. Would it be possible in the future to have a podium midway where those people who have disabilities or sensory deficits aren't, fall into this terrorism? It's really difficult for this population if there's a need here. I'm just throwing this out to represent persons with disabilities, invisible disabilities, or sensory deficits. I thank you for listening. Good night.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's a great idea. We can explore that. Yes, Mr. Bates.
I seriously was not going to speak tonight, but since my name just got used, I would just like to say that on my behalf, and I think for others, there is no hostility. There are people asking questions, direct, difficult questions. And if those questions are inappropriate, then please say so. I will back off immediately. But I will not stand up here and have legitimate questions asked and have that translated into a hostile environment. If we are not allowed to ask difficult questions without being challenged for being hostile, we are in serious, serious trouble. So I'll set a record by ending my comments here. Thank you.
You can try to use your 4 minutes in the next meeting. You can do that if you'd like as well. All right, thank you, Mr. Bates, and I don't think anyone's trying to stifle any public comment here at City Hall. So, anyone else? Yes, in the back. No, please state your name for the clerk.
I'm Sukhminder Deol. Some people know me as Mr. Deol, Sukhi Deol. I have lived in this town for almost 38 years. And just like the gentleman before me, I had no plans of speaking. But since we are here, I thought might bring it up when the whole Turlock City Cream is here. You know, we as a Turlock City community been through a lot since last 5 years. And I don't know if the City Hall knows that we finally had the court judgment by Judge Freeland in Stanislaus Superior Court. And the 5 of us out of the 7 previous members as plaintiffs been awarded the control of the temple till next elections. So my only request to City Hall, Police Chief, Mayor, Council members is that hopefully we are trying to get everything smooth, but things happen. I know one of the congregant member was complained against, and his house was searched, and luckily nothing was found in his house. So my point is, I just want to request the City Hall, the authorities, the police chief, to be fair. And like I said, I will personally try. I'm the state secretary now, and out of those 5 plaintiffs. So when the things get escalated, please try to be fair. Find out who is telling the truth, who is not. Just don't go by who are you surrounded by, who are you been close to, who have you personal relations with, but just be fair. And like I said, we're trying to do our best. I personally am trying to do best for my community, for the City Hall, for the Turlock City that I have lived in for 38 years. And when I moved to this town, it was Turlock City School. Somebody told me they are the best in the state. And at that time, I just had little kids. I have 3 kids now. And they all went to Turlock High School, universities, everything. And I'm very proud of this town, and I hope we can keep it that way. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. The Sikh Temple's always been very welcoming of me coming by, so I will come by and come see you all and wish you good luck until the next election. Anyone else from the community like to address the council? All right, we'll close public participation. Moving on, motion waiving reading of all ordinances on the agenda except by title.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember DeHart, second by Councilmember Scare. Clerk, please call the roll.
Waiving reading of all ordinances on the agenda except by title. Councilmember Esquer,
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Mayor Soisek.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Declaration of conflicts of interest and disqualifications. All right, seeing none. Disclosure of top 10 maximum contributors can be found within the agenda. On to the consent calendar. Councilmember DeHart would like to remove item 5K and 5N for separate consideration. Also note there is a green sheet for 5N. Are there any other items to be removed? All right. What is the pleasure of the council? Less items 5K and 5N.
Introduce.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Bublak, second by Councilmember DeHart. Clerk, please call the roll.
Adopting the amended consent calendar. Councilmember Esquer,
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Mayor Soisek.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Item K, approving an underground to underground relocation agreement with AT&T California for city project number 17-22, North Valley Regional Recycled Water Program, Turlock component. Mr. DeHart, you want to say your concerns first?
Let me just give a brief preview, Mayor, if I might. Thank you. Prior to Mr. Cook presenting on this item, I just wanted to share that this is underneath what is typically my threshold of $100,000 expenditure, but it's more than that. In this particular case, the reality is this is one of our high-profile projects. This is one of extreme import, and so I just wanted to make sure that, number one, anything having to do with water of this magnitude and of this expense got a fair hearing such that we could all understand what was happening. Mr. Cook?
Okay. So good evening, Mayor and council members. This is an agreement between the City of Turlock and AT&T regarding the relocation of an AT&T cable on Carpenter Road and West Main, far out of Turlock city limits, and this is resulting from the planned construction of the Turlock component of the North Valley Regional Recycled Water Pipeline. So we're out to bid on a 42-inch pipeline. It's 7 miles in length from the city's current wastewater outfall of the San Joaquin River near Carpenter Road, and that pipeline will run to the City of Modesto's Jennings Ranch wastewater treatment facility. The purpose of the pipeline is to convey recycled water from Turlock to Modesto and then ultimately to the Delta Mendota Canal for farmland irrigation. We're estimating the award of this project to be on July 24th, so a couple of months from now. And the overall project cost is about $27.5 million. That's the best we have the engineer's estimate. And the project will be fully funded by the sale of recycled water to Del Porto Water District, so there's no impact to Turlock ratepayers. The challenge is for a 1 mile portion of this 7 mile pipeline, it is right next to an AT&T cable that's too close for the trench, so we need to relocate the AT&T cable. The other option is to go the other side of the road, but there's overhead power lines. So we're kind of betwixt and between, and this was the simplest solution was to relocate that AT&T cable. We do a lot of negotiations with AT&T. They wanted a lot of money to relocate the line themselves. Our engineering staff spent a lot of time and found out the best option would be for the city's contractor, when he's awarded the bid, to do the trenching, install the conduit and the pull boxes, and then AT&T will come in and pull that cable. And that's just the $90,000+ you see on your agenda tonight is the cost. We'll pay AT&T to reinstall that cable. So basically, the agreement outlines the costs and the responsibilities of each party on this project. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments?
And just for perspective, I do see that we provide for a 10% overrun, so totaling 108,000. So it does go above my threshold, Mr. Cook. I think that it's critical that we note that that this project is fully funded by Del Porto. This is not something that we're ultimately going to be on the hook for. And so the beautiful thing about it is once this whole project is paid for, those are revenues to the city. revenues to our water fund. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. There's positive revenue to the city's wastewater fund, and also it reduces our liability of being in the river. So future regulatory impacts, again, which are unquantifiable at this time, but being out of the San Joaquin River, which is a salmon fishery, will potentially help us in the longer term.
That's all that I have there.
Thank you. Anyone from the public have any questions or comments on this? All right, bringing it back, what's the pleasure of the council on this item?
Happy to advance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember DeHart, second by Vice Mayor Jacob. Clerk, please call the roll.
Approving an underground-to-underground relocation agreement with AT&T California for city project number 1722, North Valley Regional Recycled Water Program, Turlock component, in the estimated amount of $99,079.89. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Mayor Soisek?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. On to item N, supporting the resolution reducing crime and keeping California safe, Act of 2018. Councilmember DeHart, do you have questions? Obviously, Chief, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't know who was going to present on this, but I think that it should be clear and unambiguous that this council is committed to public safety, to our community, and supports our men and women in blue. And this item specifically addresses the concerns that many have throughout the state with respect to what's happened with Prop 47, 109, the relationship between the two, but primarily the corresponding rise in violent crime. And I think that that's a statement that we as a council definitely need to make. Chief?
Mr. Mayor and council members, thank you, Councilmember DeHart. Before you on the request for a resolution supporting reducing crime and keeping California safe Act of 2018. This is an initiative for public safety that's been brought forth by the California Police Chiefs Association. And as you stated, it is an initiative that we wish support from all of our cities and counties within the state of California as we bring this initiative forward. And it is to address those matters that you've brought up in regards to violent crimes, DNA collection, and so forth. So this doesn't change some of the issues that have come forth. What it does is it corrects some of the deficiencies that have been in place. It expands a list of violent crimes. Currently, sex crimes, trafficking, child sex, assault of a police officer, felony domestic violence, and other similar crimes are not classified as violent crimes, and this initiative will make those changes. In addition, Prop 47 changed the DNA database, not allowing us to gather the DNA that's required for us to assist in the investigations of criminal acts. This will allow the collection of convicted individuals in regards to theft and drug crimes. It'll also assist in the prosecution of the same. There's a property crimes explosion. You can see that in our Part 1 crimes. Our property crimes are going up. You can see that in regards to the multiple petty theft crimes we're responding to throughout our business communities, because the threshold for theft, being a felony, has been raised to almost $1,000. On top of that, the other section that required a felony conviction for 3 or more convictions was completely removed. So basically, go steal as much as you want as long as it's under $1,000, and you're going to continuously get a ticket, or the most serve a week. This will change that. It will allow us for a felony arrest for a serial theft, and it defines it in here. So I ask the council to support this resolution. I don't want to go through and read it, but I hit some of the major topics in there. Many cities have already accepted the resolution, and I bring it forth for this city council because I know, mayor and council members, that you support the community, the safety of the community, and law enforcement. And I'm available for any questions.
Great, Chief. Any questions or comments for the Chief? From the audience, any questions or comments? Thank you so much. What's the pleasure of the council on this item?
Advance.
Do I have a second? All right, we have a motion by Councilmember DeHart, second by Councilmember Scare. Thanks so much, Chief. Clerk, please call the roll.
Supporting the resolution reducing crime and keeping California safe Act of 2018. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Mayor Soisek?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. Moving on to final readings. Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. We have an ordinance adding Turlock Municipal Code, Title 4, Chapter 3, Article 4, Section 11, regarding the prohibition of and penalties for the use of dangerous fireworks as introduced at the May 8, 2018 City Council meeting. Councilmember Esquer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dehart,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Mayor Soisek.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to public hearings, a request to order the improvements and formation of the parcel map 17-02, Turlock Corners LLC, development project number 17-63, landscaping and lighting benefit assessment district, and the street maintenance benefit assessment area. Mr. Bray.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Before you tonight is the resolution ordering the formation, confirming the benefit assessments, and levying and collection of assessments of the landscaping and lighting benefit assessment district and street maintenance benefit assessment district associated with development project Turlock Corners LLC. The project is located on the southeast corner of Countryside and Tuolumne. The item completes the procedures for the formation of the landscape and lighting assessment district and the street maintenance benefit assessment area. This action ensures that development pays for its impacts to the city's street lighting, street sweeping, street slurry seals, and landscaping so as not to affect existing city funds. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Bray before I open the public hearing? All right, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone at this time like to address the council?
Just a quick question. How many special districts doing the same thing do we have now?
We have over 200 of a combination of landscape lighting districts along with street benefit assessment districts.
Okay, do we have anybody whose only job is to keep track of this?
We do not have one person that keeps track of these. They're kept track of through a multiple of departments, between municipal services, development services, parks, rec, public facilities maintenance, and our finance department.
So there's no one overseeing the fact, or checking to make sure that something that happened like in Modesto with their Village One project where someone's being assessed twice or something like that, there's no overall person coordinating to make sure everything's as it should be?
As of this time, that's correct. There's not one person that's a sole point of contact.
Okay, I'm not sure where I want to go with that anymore. Thank you.
Additional questions or comments? All right, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back. What additional questions or comments from the council? All right, what's the pleasure of the council? That was second?
Second.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Please, tell us about the ballot process, clerk.
Thank you, Mayor.
Forgot.
The only ballot received for this item is in favor of the district. No ballots were received in opposition of. Therefore, no majority protest exists and the council may form the district.
Thank you. I even have a note here to talk about ballots. Thank you so much. With that, what is the pleasure of the council? What did I hear? And, okay, so we have a motion by Vice Mayor Jacob, second by Councilmember Dehart. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ordering the improvements and formation of the parcel map 1702, Turlock Corners LLC, development project number 1763, landscaping and lighting benefit assessment district, and the street maintenance benefit assessment area, and confirming the diagram and benefit assessment as set forth in the annual report of the engineer of work, and the levying and collection of assessments set forth therein for fiscal year 2017-2018, for the parcel map 1702, Turlock Corners LLC, development project number 1763, landscaping and lighting benefit assessment district, and the street maintenance benefit assessment area pursuant to resolution number 97-128. Councilmember Esquer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dehart,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Mayor Soisek.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. Moving on to item B, request to order the improvements and formation of parcel map 17-03, Scott's development project number 17-4, landscaping and lighting benefit assessment district, and street maintenance benefit assessment area. Mr. Ray.
It's wordy, I know. Again, before you tonight is the resolution ordering the formation and confirming the benefit assessments and levying and collection of assessments for the landscape lighting benefit assessment district, the street maintenance benefit assessment district associated with the development, Scott. The project is located on the south side of Padris Road between Gear and Donnelly Park Drive. And again, this item completes the procedures for the formation of the Landscape Lighting Assessment District and the Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment Area. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Bray? Yes, Mr. DeHart.
I'd just like to make a comment, Mayor. Mr. Puffer, I'll ask what you didn't, and that is why not? Why do we not have a single point of control and coordination? And I think, I'm not asking you specifically, Mr. Bray, because I know that this has been going on for an extended period of time, but I think it would behoove us, no doubt, to ensure that we follow up and determine whether or not there's a system that is workable, that can control these things, that has one person that's responsible, such that there is a way to track and ensure that people are not being double billed. So thank you, Mr. Puffer. That was a great question.
If you wouldn't kind of follow up for a staff update maybe next time.
Yeah, sure thing. We can gather our collective heads together and talk about it, and we'll bring it back.
Again, this has gone on for quite a long time. Absolutely. Any additional question, comments from the audience? I'm opening the public hearing now. Okay, I'm closing the public hearing, and I'm going to ask the clerk to talk about ballots on this one.
Thank you, Mayor. The only ballot received for this item is also in favor of the district. No ballots were received in opposition of, therefore no majority protest exists, and the council may form the district.
Perfect. All right, what's the pleasure of council?
Advance.
Do I have a second? Motion by Councilmember DeHart, second by Councilmember Bublak. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ordering the improvements and formation of the parcel map 1703, Scott, Development Project Number 1764, Landscaping and Lighting Benefit Assessment District, and the Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment Area, and confirming the diagram and benefit assessments as set forth in the annual report of the Engineer of Work, and the levying and collection of assessments set forth therein for fiscal year 2017-2018 for the parcel map 1703 Scott, Development Project Number 1764, Landscaping and Lighting Benefit Assessment District, and the Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment Area pursuant to Resolution Number 97-128. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Mayor Soisa?
Yes, motion carries 5-0 thanks to technology. We're allowed to go 5-0. Moving on to item C, a request to order the improvements and formation of parcel map 70-04. How are we pronouncing that?
Kuo, and I apologize if I say it wrong.
Qua. Landscaping and Lighting Benefit Assessment District and the Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment Area. Mr. Bray.
Yes, again, thank you and good evening. Before you tonight, again, is the resolution ordering the formation, confirming the benefit assessments, and levying and collection of the assessments of the Landscape Lighting and Benefit Assessment Districts, the Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment District, known as QUA. The project is located on Dells Lane, just south of Brea Drive. Again, this item completes the procedures for the formation of the Landscape Lighting Assessment Districts and the Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment Area. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So any question, comments from Mr. Brown on this item? All right, opening the public hearing. Any questions or comments? Closing the public hearing, bringing it back. Clerk, what is the ballot count?
Thank you, Mayor. The only ballot received for this item is in favor of the district. No ballots were received in opposition of, therefore no majority protest exists, and the council may form the district.
Awesome. What's the pleasure of the council? Moved. All right. In a second. So we have a motion by Councilmember Bublak, seconded by Vice Mayor Jacob, I think. All right, yes. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ordering the improvements and formation of the parcel map 1704, QUA, Development Project Number 1765, Landscaping and Lighting Benefit Assessment District, and the Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment Area, and confirming the diagram and benefit assessments as set forth in the annual report of the Engineer of Work, and the levying and collection of assessments set forth therein for fiscal year 2017-2018 for the parcel map 1704, QUA, Development Project Number 1765, Landscaping and Lighting Benefit Assessment District, and the Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment Area pursuant to Resolution Number 97-128. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Mayor Soisa?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thanks so much. And finally, a request to order the improvements and formation of the parcel map 17-05, 680 D Street LLC, Landscaping and Lighting Benefit Assessment District, and the Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment Area. Mr. Bray.
Again, lastly but not leastly, before you tonight is a resolution ordering the formation, confirming the benefit assessments and levying and collection of assessments for the Landscaping Lighting Benefit Assessment District and Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment District associated with project 680 D Street LLC. This project is located on D Street between Lander and Fifth Avenue. Again, this item completes the procedures for the formation of the Landscape Lighting Assessment District and the Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment area.
All right, I'd like to
answer
open the
your
public
questions.
hearing now. Or actually, no, any questions or comments first? Now I'll open the public hearing. Anyone from the public like to comment? All right, close public hearing. Clerk, what are the ballots? Can we proceed?
Thank you, Mayor. The only ballot received for this item is in favor of the district. No ballots were received in opposition of. Therefore, no majority protest exists, and the council may form the district.
All right, perfect. What's the, all right, do I have a second? We have a motion by Vice Mayor Jacob, second by Councilmember DeHart. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ordering the improvements and formation of the parcel map 1705, 680 D Street LLC, Development Project Number 1767, Landscaping and Lighting Benefit Assessment District, and the Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment Area, and confirming the diagram and benefit assessments as set forth in the annual report of the Engineer of Work, and the levying and collection of assessments set forth therein for fiscal year 2017-2018 for the parcel map 1705, 680 D Street LLC, Development Project Number 1767, Landscaping and Lighting Benefit Assessment District, and the Street Maintenance Benefit Assessment Area, pursuant to resolution number 97128. Councilmember Esquer?
Can you repeat that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Mayor Soisek?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Nathan. Yes, Councilmember DeHart.
Mayor, I'd just like to make a comment. We've just enacted some assessment districts, 4 of them. And I think it's more than just assessment districts. This councils before that have committed to infill development before we even consider expansion out into the hinterlands. And I think that this representation, these 4 developments, assessment districts, representing that infill is critical to note. And I'd just like for us to do that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, moving on. There's a green sheet for item 8A. The 8A is a request to appoint Robert C. Lawton as city manager. Mr. Sanchez or Ms. Eddy? Who's taking this one?
Starting the item.
All right, perfect.
No beeping this evening.
I was going to say there's no horns involved.
Yeah, she ran over my foot last time.
It hit your head.
I kind of did. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The item before you is a request to appoint Robert Lawton as city manager and approve a city manager employment agreement between the City of Turlock and Robert Lawton. The City of Turlock began a new executive recruitment for the position of city manager in February 2018. We worked with the recruitment firm of Peckham and McKenney to conduct a national search for our city manager. The city received 25 candidates for this position. After a comprehensive and competitive selection process, Mr. Lawton stood out as the leading candidate. Mr. Lawton has nearly 20 years of local government experience in California and other states, with 12 years as a chief administrative officer, assistant, or deputy, including his current position as county administrator of Yates County, New York. A more comprehensive overview of Mr. Lawton's education and experience is outlined in the staff report. At this time, the city attorney will provide a brief summary of the employment agreement.
Thank you.
Mayor, members of the council, I will start off by explaining the green sheet. The green sheet is actually an amendment to the employment agreement. Usually through the recruitment process, the city does do background checks. In this case, the city used a recruiter. The recruitment firm provided both a criminal and a civil background check, cleared background checks. However, the city of Turlock has a higher standard as far as the background checks they do. They actually take quite a bit of time to go through the process, get different data. Unfortunately, the background check that the city of Turlock does has not been fully completed. We've been working with the police department to make sure to schedule time. Mr. Lawton has actually flew a couple times back and forth in order to make sure to get fingerprinted, to turn in information. That is still happening now. The direction obviously was to get this agreement before the council as soon as possible. The way normally we would do this, if the background check is not done, the offer of employment is still conditioned on the background. There is a section that's being included both in the resolution and in the agreement itself, which conditions the agreement and the employment on a clear background check. If there were any disqualifying hits on any of this, the city could definitely terminate the agreement and the employment relationship would not start. This background, it will be done prior to Mr. Lawton beginning employment if the city council approves this item tonight. So that is being added both in the agreement and in the resolution. Again, just as a safeguard, we do have the recruitment firm providing their background checks. Regarding the agreement itself, the staff report does contain some of the highlights. Would like to just tell the council, the public, what those are. The term of the employment is for 3 years. The city manager is an at-will employee. I know there were some questions about whether that position is represented or not. No, it's at-will, not representing by any union or bargaining group. The city manager's base salary, $215,748, which is range 48.1, step 3. The council on consent calendar did approve a change to the range from the previous range to now creating the 48.1 range for this position. Severance in amount of 6 months base salary, and it's not a roll-up or anything, it's base salary. There will be retirements. CalPERS, like all your other employees, in this case pursuant to the Public Employees Pension Reform Act of 2013, Mr. Lawton would be considered a new employee for purposes of CalPERS, which is a different, just slightly different formula, which is spelled out in your schedule of benefits plans and policies with your management employees. Also, the medical coverage, vacation leave, sick leave, management leave, et cetera, that's all covered under that schedule of benefits with your management groups. It's going to be the same as provided to the other directors. There's going to be an automobile allowance of $400 per month, which is also very similar to what you provide directors. And there's relocation expenses. Mr. Lawton will be relocating from New York. Therefore, there is a relocation component to it, moving expenses not to exceed $20,000, subject to original valid receipts. So verification, proof of the expenses would need to be made prior to reimbursement of those costs. Then I will be happy to answer any other questions on the agreement. Those are really the highlights. And again, the rest of the agreement, of course, covers the different indemnifications, the bonding, performance evaluations. One thing regarding the performance evaluation, the agreement does have the city council doing their first performance evaluation after 6 months, just kind of a check-in. That way, it is in the agreement in case anybody sees that on the agenda. It doesn't mean anything other than the agreement calls for a 6-month check-in.
Thank you. Before I give Mr. Lawton the floor, any question or comments for Jose or for Mr. Sanchez or Sarah Eddy? Any questions or comments from the council? All right, Mr. Lawton, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I hope I'm not being premature in any way. You know, I drove up to the building and I saw the street was blocked off out front. And there's these signs that say special event. Now, I know you all have been waiting a while for the new city manager, and I was really quite flattered. And then I walk down the street and I see there's equipment in the street sweeper. I'm thinking ticker tape parade. I'm looking up, no tall buildings. And then I asked one of the fellows out front, and they explained it was for Public Works Week, and they were showing off the equipment and the personnel. And I thought that's an even better occasion to give our city team members the opportunity to show the public what they do and how well they do it, because they're the folks on the front line. And the job of the manager is to support them and remove barriers to their success. And so I think it's a great thing to have out in front of City Hall on a night like this. I'd like to thank the mayor and the council potentially for honoring me with this great public service opportunity. I will work hard every day to merit your confidence. I look forward to supporting the mayor and council as our governing body while they represent the people of Turlock, and to supporting our department heads and our city staff in the efficient and effective administration of government. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lawton. That's our premature applause for you right there, yeah. All right, anyone from the audience like to address the council on this item? I think you're okay. Anyone? All right, I'll close public participation, bring it back to the council for last minute questions or comments, or would you?
Enthusiastically second.
Okay, I heard a second
Oh.
over here, even though you're
We're
very
doing some murmuring
enthusiastic.
over here.
Yeah, you guys are mumbling tonight. All right, well, we have a motion by Vice Mayor Jacob and seconded by Councilmember Bublak requesting to appointing Robert C. Lawton as city manager. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Thank you. Appointing Robert C. Lawton as city manager, approving a city manager employment agreement between the city of Turlock and Robert C. Lawton, and setting terms of employment, salary, and benefits for the city manager position. Councilmember Esquer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dehart,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes, and finally.
Mayor Soiseth.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much for joining the Turlock family, Mr. Lawton. At this time, Stacy Tonarelli is putting final touches on our press release, and so council members, we're going to take a quick break. In case you want to add a quote to it, you can go back and talk to Stacy, and so we will take a quick 5-minute recess so we can also shake your hand, Mr. Lawton. Thank you. Stacy, you'll be there in your office.
Yeah.
Sorry, am I in the way?
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We look forward to it as well. So thank you very much.
If everyone can take their seats, we'll start in 1 minute. All right, let's take our seats. All right, moving on to, we're actually going to take two agenda. Once Mr. Butler sits down. Councilmember Scare wasn't either.
Say what?
Everyone's running amok. All right, we're moving. We're going to take actually two items out of order. We're going to take 8E and 8F first. So 8E, a request to determine the closure for the Turlock Pentecost Annual Parade hosted by the Turlock Pentecost Association is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act and approve a special event permit application. Amber Train.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me this evening to speak on this closure request and special event application. On April 17th, applicant Anthony Mello Jr. of the Turlock Pentecost Association submitted a special event application which included a street closure request for the Turlock Annual Pentecost Parade being held Sunday, May 27th. The proposed street closure has been requested for the following: Gear Road between Canal and North Golden State, Lincoln Avenue between Gear Road and North Thor Street, North Thor Street between Lincoln Avenue and Monroe Avenue, Monroe Avenue between North Thor Street and North Center Street, North Center Street between Monroe Avenue and East Main Street, East Main Street between North Center Street and East Canal Drive, Bonita Avenue between East Canal Drive and East Main Street, Lyons Avenue between East Main Street and Rose Street, and eastbound East Canal Drive between Olive Avenue and Gear Road. This is the same route that this body approved for last year's event. This event is an annual event which council has decided to add to the special event packet as a community celebration. After the event was approved last year and took place, we did receive some feedback from community members who were impacted by these closures. Last year was the first time that we had hard closures along the whole route in place. These concerns came primarily from congregations who meet along side streets or along the route. Per the special event application process, property owners affected by the closure were notified again this year. Those who we heard concerns from last year were specifically reached out to by staff, letting them know that this closure has again been requested, and hopefully try to mitigate those concerns before it reached this body. After working through that process with the engineering department, special events committee, as well as some of our community members, we discovered that there may have been some confusion as well as signage that was maybe intimidating to our community members. That has since been worked through with our engineering department. The traffic control plan now includes specifically signs on those side streets that say road closed ahead and will not be so intrusive as to the right-of-way, so that parking will be available in front of those buildings as well as all side streets along Main. Traffic engineering has reviewed this closure request. City of Turlock Special Events Committee has reviewed the applications, and if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
All right, any questions or comments from Ms. Trainee? All right, any questions, comments from the audience? I have Mr. Youngdale who'd like to come up.
Thank you. I'm Ron Youngdale. I'm pastor at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. And I just have a couple words for you guys. Excuse me, you council members. Mayor Soyseth, city council members, city staff, and fellow citizens of the great city of Turlock. Last year, we had a development that affected our Sunday morning worship services at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. Our church is on the corner of Main and Minaret. Our parking lot is accessible only off of Lyons. We had received notice from the city of Turlock about the upcoming parade by the Turlock Pentecostal Association. This is last year. That was not a new event. I've served Good Shepherd for 33 years. Every year about this time, the parade passes by our building during our late service. That has never been an issue for us, other than we were provided with some background music during our service. Please note, for the record, that our congregation has no concern about the annual parade. Last year, the procedure was changed. The city of Turlock decided that road closures, or hard road closures, were necessary throughout the morning on that Sunday. Our Sunday services are at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. The main entry to our parking lot on Lyons was blocked from any access. People can enter and exit through the alley that opens onto Cooper. However, the alley is not desirable for two-way traffic. Furthermore, many of our members and guests approach our facility via Main Street, which was not accessible. Our attendance on that Sunday was noticeably affected due to the road closures. Accessibility to our church caused confusion for drivers. Some just went home. Please consider that one of the main functions of a Christian church is Sunday worship. We have only 52 Sunday worship days in a calendar year. Having one of those 52 days impacted due to an imposed limitation is a concern for us. After that Sunday experience, I sent a letter to the city to register my concern about the procedure implemented. I was contacted by a city employee and was assured this would be discussed in a public hearing. I was informed of this meeting by Amber Trainee via email and the United States Parcel Service. I appreciated the follow-up communications. On behalf of Good Shepherd, I would encourage the city to reconsider its procedure for the parade. In the past, police protection was given as the parade moved through the streets. People still had access to the streets unless the parade was actually on that street. We would suggest you return to that procedure or some alternative that will not impact accessibility to our facility on Sunday morning. Thank you. May God bless all of you as you continue to serve our community. Appreciate all of you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Youngdale. Amber, have you and your team been able to look at some solutions?
We actually have, based on Pastor Youngdale's concerns that he presented today, I think that being the timeline we are on, I think that the city should look into staffing that portion of the closure instead of having that be a hard closure. Pastor Youngdale did say that his services were at 9 and 11. I don't think that the procession will be using that portion of road at those specific times, give or take 15, 20 minutes before and 15, 20 minutes after to give time for exiting and entrance traffic. I think that having that closure staffed as maybe not a hard closure, either with PD or our staff, that we can accommodate both the procession while still having the safety and our risk, covering our risk management, as well as accommodating the needs of the congregation.
That's a great solution. Pastor Youngdale, does that seem to meet your needs, or?
Sounds like it, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I appreciate you're trying to work at something and figure this out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mr. Woods.
My name is Jeff Woods. I'm the pastor of First Christian Church, and we also share our facilities with Grace Anglican Church. They meet at 11:30. We meet at 10:30. I want to say, first of all, I do very much appreciate the city staff. Out of relationship afterwards, last year we had the same thing. I have a lot of older folks who, even 2 blocks with a walker or something like that is a long distance to get to the church. And last year we had a number of people turn around and go home because they don't want to violate the law, and it looked like if you go in here, you're going on a closed road or something like that, which is right in front of the church. We're just off of West Main. We hear them, they go right by us. They provide background music as well. And having come from a lot of different countries in the world, I've lived in a lot of countries, I love the diversity and am fully supportive of the Pentecost Association and their both cultural and religious parades and things like that. I do want to say, so this year, I appreciated the fact we did contact you last year. Amber did give us a heads up, and I know that they're dealing with how late they get the application. So I came over this last week to try to say, what can we do? I went to the police chief first, and then he told me to go to the Parks Rec department, and Mr. Vargas was helpful to me, passed it on. I sent an email, and that was CC'd. And I did receive a call from Wayne York, the city engineer, who was talking about it. So we were able to discuss it. I think we can do it. I was able to tell a lot of our folks what's happening, and here are some routes that you can maybe get to that. But I would say, if we can work on, we've never had a problem until last year, and it was the hard closure issue that kept folks, particularly people with mobility issues. So I want to commend you, commend Allison, your department, and the people in the engineering and our police chief for that we were able to work. I think we can make it work this year. It might be good for us to discuss, not when it's right on us, but what would be the best solutions along the way. Okay?
I think we're in agreement on that. I think, Amber, it's something the Pentecost Association wants to make sure they're good neighbors when they do
Absolutely.
the parade. So I think that maybe doing an after-action review, maybe a month after this, bring everyone together and see how we can maybe reformulate the parade route would be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Councilmember Bublak.
So, Amber, do you have any idea, or perhaps one of these other pastors, are there other churches that are going to be impacted by this as well? I mean, how many are we talking?
There are several churches along the route. A lot of them are on those side streets, which, again, we hope to have mitigated that problem. The signage won't be as intimidating. People will be more welcome to park on those side streets. There will be some churches, I believe, within the closure. We have not heard from them, so I don't know if they maybe found an alternative parking area or something last year when they received that public notification. We did not hear from them after the event last year or have received any notification from them preceding the notification.
Amber, perhaps you could go through some of the thought process why we geared parades and street closures for Main Street towards Sundays. I think that was some businesses were in mind. I mean, again, not to mitigate the impacts to churches, which are obviously on Sundays, but.
Yes, we did have quite a few businesses within the PBID downtown area, one of our, more impactful corridors, that had some concerns with having parades or events which closed down parking access to their business on Saturdays. That is one of their major days, especially mid-morning to afternoon time. That is when their influx of business comes in. So it was, after kind of surveying the businesses, it was determined that they would be more accepting and in support of events such as this taking place with hard closures on Sundays.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Scared and then Vice Mayor Jacob.
Yes, I just had a quick question now. Is there some kind of a liability problem as to why it has to be city staff or the police department's staffing these, if we didn't go with the hard closure? Because what I was thinking is, can we address this to the Pentecost Association and say, can we get some volunteers to help
So
staff these?
the direction we've received from our risk management is that volunteers are in no way supposed to direct traffic. If there is a closure in place, they're not to move barricades. All of those crews and staff have gone through the training to do so. The traffic control plan is designed with design immunity, meaning that it kind of covers us based on if an incident were to happen, they can't say this was a faulty design. City engineer signs off on that, and so to have volunteers kind of interacting within that would negate that process.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Are we doing hard closures in front of any of the other 4 or 5 churches that were not represented tonight?
I believe there is 2 churches within the closure. The rest of them are on those side streets. One of them being on Canal, on eastbound Canal. I'm not sure what their service times are, maybe because that is the last stretch of the closure. That is kind of the recession back to the Pentecost Association building there on Gear. Perhaps we missed the timing of their services. And the other one I'm not sure of, but I do believe there's 2 within the closure. And again, we have not heard from them with concerns after last year or regarding this year.
Can we either look into whether it would affect them and possibly not have a hard closure there and have it be staffed? What I'm understanding to be a soft closure.
The one that I know of is on that stretch of Canal, so having that not be a hard closure would be the entire stretch of Canal from Olive to Gear. That might be pretty impactful. We're talking an estimated 500 people processioning down the road, so unclosing a section, I don't know if that would be feasible for staff at this time. Definitely something we can look into for next year. But I can reach out to those churches and let them know, again, this is what you will be experiencing. If there's anything we can do, please let us know. I don't know if changing that closure at this time will be.
What are those churches, do you know?
There's the Evangelical Syrian Church, which is on Palm and side streets, half a block off. There's also Moradai on the corner of Olive and
Canal.
on the right side. That's
The
affected.
white.
Those are the main ones, and then you also have Community Church down.
Enclave.
Yeah, Enclave and Fellowship Bible Church are on the TID side, and they have some closures on there, so I don't know. Some of them can defer on Canal. And some of them are not gonna be coming forward, we'll just work with it.
Right. Well, I know that the Evangelical Syrian Church has services in the morning. I'm not sure exactly what time, but I'm assuming some services in the morning.
So this route was, we used it last year, correct?
This is the exact route that was approved last year.
Afterwards, did you get, again, we have some folks here tonight, but
We
did
only received 2 public input kind of notifications after the event, and we followed up this year, letting them know that the same exact closures will be taking place, and kind of worked through those issues with them to hopefully lessen the impact of this year's event with those who we have heard from.
Not with any of the other churches?
They received the public notification, as, along the route, all the downtown businesses, all those people within that radius received the public notification. We did not reach out to every church individually, only those who we have heard from historically.
I think it probably would have behooved us to have reached out to them as well, seeing that we have 2 churches that are vocal enough to come and talk to us about it. Just because they're being silent about it doesn't mean that they're being negatively impacted.
Any additional questions or comments from the audience? All right, bringing it back. Yes, Councilmember Blue Black.
I appreciate what you guys have done, and I think that we go out of our way to help our businesses, and that's hugely important, but Sunday is the day that all of these people congregate. So for the future, if we could maybe have a theological committee, everybody's on the same page, it's meeting with them well in advance, just so we can find out that we're not, it's a significant day with a lot of people going, and people have rituals, and they like to go to the same church and park where they always park, sit where they sit. So if we could just do that for the future, that'd be really
Absolutely.
great. But otherwise, I'd go ahead and introduce the first resolution.
Yeah, and I think just to expand on that, thank you, Councilmember Bublak. I think we have multiple requests coming forward soon. And I think there's going to be some issues with those that we need to, as soon as we possibly can. I shared with Director Van Gilder this morning. There's going to be some issues that are going to come up again. And I think we definitely need to begin to look at those situations where celebration and faith tradition fervor do not collide with others' faith tradition and celebration. And so whether it's crossing a main street, whether it's eliminating parking, whatever it is, I think that those types of things can be certainly addressed with what Councilmember Vice Mayor has suggested, because I think that there's a lot that can be done. There are those of us that are in fact willing to help as well. So if there's any way to help those things be facilitated and moved along, I think in advance would behoove us all to do.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Comments come after my second.
I forgot to ask the clerk about ballots. You forgot to second. All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Bublak, seconded by Councilmember DeHart. By feeling the city attorney to be a buzzkill and say something.
No buzzkill, just making sure that encompassed, I know that it says the hard closure, but the closures, but staff did propose the having members of the staff out there for those for those locations.
Yes, Councilmember Bublak, is that what you understood?
Yeah, yes,
Your
that
motion?
My
And
second
yes.
too,
All
yes.
right, perfect. The motion by Councilmember Bublak, second by Councilmember DeHart. Clerk, please call the roll when you're ready.
Thank you. Determining the closure of Gear Road between Canal Drive and North Golden State Boulevard, Lincoln Avenue between Gear Road and North Thor Street, North Thor Street between Lincoln Avenue and Monroe Avenue, Monroe Avenue between North Thor Street and North Center Street, North Center Street between Monroe Avenue and East Main Street, East Main Street between North Center Street and East Canal Drive, Bonita Avenue between East Canal Drive and East Main Street, Lyons Avenue between East Main Street and Rose Street, and eastbound East Canal Drive between Olive Avenue and Gear Road for the Turlock Pentecost Annual Parade hosted by the Turlock Pentecost Association is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, in accordance with Section 15304, minor alterations to land of the CEQA guidelines. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
No.
Mayor Soisek?
Yes, motion carries 4-1. What's the pleasure of the council on the second resolution?
Advance?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember DeHart, second by Councilmember Bublak. Clerk, please call the roll.
Approving a special event permit application for the Turlock Pentecost Annual Parade hosted by the Turlock Pentecost Association, authorizing the associated closure of Gear Road between Canal Drive and North Golden State Boulevard, Lincoln Avenue between Gear Road and North Thor Street, North Thor Street between Lincoln Avenue and Monroe Avenue, Monroe Avenue between North Thor Street and North Center Street, North Center Street between Monroe Avenue and East Main Street, East Main Street between North Center Street and East Canal Drive, Bonita Avenue between East Canal Drive and East Main Street, Lyons Avenue between East Main Street and Rose Street, and eastbound East Canal Drive between Olive Avenue and Gear Road for pedestrian safety on Sunday, May 27, 2018 at specified times, and authorizing the city manager to apply appropriate conditions and restrictions on the street closure. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
No.
Mayor Soisek?
Yes, motion carries 4-1. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Amber.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Youngdale and Pastor Woods, for coming forward, and we'll work to make sure we alleviate all those concerns and then any future concerns as well.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, moving on to item F as well. Request to determine the closure for the 2018 Listener Appreciation Concert hosted by Cat Country Cumulus Radio, is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, and approve a special event permit application. Amber.
Thank you for having me once again to speak on this closure and special event application. On April 18th, 2018, applicant Bob Berger of Cumulus Media, Cat Country 103, submitted a special event application which included the street closure request for the 2018 Listener Appreciation Concert that is held at the Stanislaus County Fairgrounds. This event is proposed to take place on June 2nd, and the closure request is for North Soderquist Road between Fulkerth Road and West Canal Drive. This is an annual event that does request the same closure each year. After last year's event, we did receive feedback from Turlock certified farmers market coordinators that due to the timing of the closure, their vendors were not able to access the entrance that they are supposed to use for the fairgrounds. Working with both TCFM and the event coordinator, staff was able to work through that time frame. We have pushed the closure time back to accommodate the vendor's entrance. The TCFM has worked with the fairgrounds to come up with a different exit strategy so they won't utilize that closure area at all. So both organizations have been accommodated based on the new proposed time frame of 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. City of Turlock Traffic Engineering has reviewed this closure request. Special Events Committee has reviewed this application, and property owners directly affected by the closure have been notified of the street closure request and this evening's public hearing. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any question or comments for Ms. Training on this item? Yes, Councilmember DeHart.
Just for clarification purposes, Amber, is this the same event that we heard clear out in Northeast Turlock?
That could have been. I know that there are several music kind of things that happen there. This is not the one that I have heard, that staff has heard about. They do plan on being done by 8 p.m. on that Saturday. And the concert typically starts around 1 p.m., I believe.
That's a good thing. I guess the only other question that I had to do with profanity that I think everybody around town was subjected to. And
I don't think that's the same event that we're looking at this evening.
Hey, you know, dog, country, it doesn't matter. It's all the same.
Any questions from the audience on this item? Any questions or comments from the audience? All right, bringing it back. Any last minute questions, comments, what do we want to do? All right, do I have a second? Motion by Vice Mayor Jacobs, second by Councilmember DeHart. Clerk, please call the roll.
Determining the closure of North Soderquist Road between Fulkerth Road and West Canal Drive for the 2018 Listener Appreciation Concert LAC, hosted by Cat Country Cumulus Radio, is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, in accordance with Section 15304, minor alterations to land, of the CEQA guidelines. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Mayor Soisek?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. What's the pleasure of the council on the second resolution?
Advance.
Do I have a second? Second. We have a motion by Councilmember DeHart, second by Councilmember Scare. Clerk, please call the roll.
Approving a special event permit application for the 2018 Listener Appreciation Concert, LAC, hosted by Cat Country Cumulus Radio, authorizing the associated closure of North Soderquist Road between Fulkerth Road and West Canal Drive for pedestrian safety on Saturday, June 2nd, 2018, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., and authorizing the city manager to apply appropriate conditions and restrictions on the street closure. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Mayor Soisek?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Amber.
much, Council.
Thank you. All right, moving back to item 8B, a request to award bid and approve an agreement in the amount of $7,465,000 for city project number 17-30, West Main Corridor Rehabilitation. Mr. Ray.
Good evening again, Mayor and members of the council. The item before you tonight is an item awarding the low bid, approving an agreement, and appropriating necessary funding for the city's first Measure L project, West Main Corridor Rehabilitation. As you are aware, the voters of Stanislaus County approved Measure L in November 2016, which caused a 1/2 cent sales tax to be collected for the purpose of road rehabilitation. The Measure L has a sunset clause of 25 years and is comprised of 4 different components: local streets and roads, bike and pedestrian, transit, and also regional projects. The city of Turlock identified a list of projects the streets and roads apportionment would be applied to, with West Main project being the first project on the list. Staff has held 3 community outreach meetings to gauge the community on the design of the corridor between Lander Avenue and West Avenue South. Based on the consensus of the meetings and direction from the council, the design in that corridor will shift the road 3 feet to the south, eliminating the landscaping strip on the south, while adding that same 3 feet width to the northern landscape strip. This will save a majority of the large sycamore trees on the northern side, and it will not eliminate any parking. This project will install bulb outs at the intersections between Laurel and Farr, creating a narrowing effect, which should slow down vehicles, make the pedestrians more visible, and reduce the distance the pedestrians have to cross the road. A large component of this project is the reconstruction of sewer, storm, and water infrastructure from Lander to Tully Road. Staff has taken the opportunity to work collectively with the various departments to try and eliminate any future needs to cut into the newly paved surface. This project will install median improvements from the far western limits, adjacent Starbucks, to the intersection of West Avenue South. This project will close off a majority of the median openings, which would have eliminated a crosswalk. To mitigate the elimination of that crosswalk, the project will install a rapid flashing beacon that is similar to the one that's installed on Kroll Road by CSUS. This is a pedestrian activated rapid flashing beacon, and it will be installed at the intersection of West Main and Radio. And as you are aware, this is the second time this council has seen and acted on awarding a bid for this project. The first time the council saw this project, the loan bid was in the amount of roughly $6,500,000. This bid has increased to $7,465,000, or $935,000 over the first bid. What may not be apparent is the project plans are much more detailed, and the exposure to potential change orders has been reduced. Also, the project presented to you tonight has considerable safety enhancements from the pedestrian bulb outs, the pedestrian activated rapid flashing beacons, and also a median fence in the West Main, a median fence in the median along West Main from Sotoquest adjacent to the elementary school, Osborne School. This fence is very similar to the fence that's installed on Walnut across from the Turlock Junior High. This project uses approximately $3,300,000 of utility funds between the water, sewer, and storm funds, and $6 million of Measure L funds. The city is projected to receive $3,250,000 of Measure L funds each year in the streets and roads component of Measure L. This project would consume the majority of the funds for the first 2 years of Measure L, thereby pushing out the other projects identified in years 1 and 2. The project financing would be treated similar to the federal projects in which expenses are allowed and reimbursements would follow. That is to say, there is not a projected cash flow issue. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much. Councilmember Scarry.
Yeah, Nathan, I have three-part question for you. Just for clarification now, I understand that the utilities that are running on the south side of West Main are going to remain overhead, and that TID will be responsible for paying for the movement, correct?
Partially correct, yes.
Partially correct.
They will remain overhead, and the respective utility companies will be responsible for the payment. TID is has a small portion of lines on there. It is mostly AT&T and some Charter.
Okay, but they're paying for it.
But they're paying for it,
Okay,
correct.
I like that. The second part, you had mentioned that previously that there was going to be a problem with some of the trees in the medians because they were going to be removed, and you weren't quite sure how they were going to be replaced. Did we come up with a solution?
Let me clarify, or seek some clarification. When you say medians, do you mean the medians in the middle of the road or the Park Street strip, landscaping strip along the narrow section?
Well, the ones you, I believe you mentioned the ones that were in the median. Are those the ones you said that were going to be need to be removed, but you weren't sure at that time what was gonna be done? How they
Yeah,
were replaced?
some of those trees will need to be removed. I want to say there's roughly under 10. 7 comes to mind, but don't quote me on that. It's under 10. Those trees are in conflict with the proposed median improvements that are going to be done. So some of the median is being shifted. Some of the turn pockets are being extended, and there are conflicting trees. So those will be removed. There is not any current plans for adding additional trees with this project. What this project will do is it will clear off the median. It will remove the dead bushes and shrubs. It will remove a portion of the earth material, and it will replace it with rubber bark. And so it will leave it with a clean, finished feel, not a highly water-using landscape look, but it will be a clean, finished feel, similar to Canal and Christopherson, yeah.
Councilmember Scare, just because we're on this topic of the medians, if you'll allow me real quick. Allison, I know that your team has to go in the middle of the medians, and I know that there's some landscaping that's safer for our teams, meaning they're there less frequently. Similarly, I know that a lot of our regulations from the state water board is still that we can't water within our medians. And then third, I know that we can't use Measure L funds for landscaping within our medians. So all that said, what is the thought process? Are we just going to leave this there, or it looks like Councilmember Scare, you're interested in this, especially it's in your district.
I was kind of curious.
I'm very interested in this as well. Should we create something to talk to you guys and meet about this as a potential, to identify potential another funding stream, to see what we could do to landscape that appropriately and safely?
So I think the plan that we've put together that Director Bray has outlined is we are working in the direction that what we have done in other areas, where we're going to a much more low maintenance approach, removing many of the low bushes as well as replacing it with the rubber bark. And basically you have trees and the rubber bark. What that does for us from an operational standpoint is it reduces the amount of time that our staff have to spend in the roadways conducting maintenance, which is a safety concern for all of us. And so it also has the benefits of reduced use of water, which I know many of our constituents are concerned about. And so in terms of moving forward, it would be our hope that we would continue to receive grant funding for the rubber bark initiative, as well as any other redesign grants that might come our way to look at ways to landscape the majority of our medians in a much more simple and effective way that achieves many different goals that we have, whether it be safety or water conservation. So I'm definitely open to working with council on that if you have any resources to direct us to look at. But I know that my staff is diligently working to seek out grants for the rubber bark, and as soon as we are eligible again, we'll be applying for another grant. So I hope that answers your question of kind of what we've talked about, and if there's something else I can clarify, I'd be happy to.
Absolutely, and I guess the second part is I'm not advocating ripping out trees. That is not, do not misconstrue that. But I also know that we look at tree health over by the college, for example, where you put rubberized bark, and a lot of those, the stresses of the drought, but also age, they're older, we now have to remove those. And so there's kind of I know your team has a plan, I'm sure, but the trees that are in the median right now are also currently pretty old, and I don't know if we've also looked at, is this the time that we redesign and take them out now so that we can do it while there's construction going on, going through the median. Again, this might be a larger conversation for here, and that's why I'm proposing that maybe Councilmember Scare and I meet with you all. But do you have any thoughts on the health of the trees and the age of the trees? And
Yes, we do know that the trees along this corridor are more mature. They are at what we would consider to be towards the end of their life. We've made some recommendations to our engineering staff on, kind of the ideal scenario and what we would like to see from a maintenance perspective. However, we're balancing that with available revenue streams and things of that nature. And so I think we've come to a good resolution by, we know we're going to have to remove some of the trees because of the construction and the design changes. And at some point in the future, we might have to evaluate removing the trees for a variety of reasons, whether it be disease, or, we've lost a lot of trees due to the drought. And so I guess, when you look at this from a planning perspective, best case scenario would be that we would have adequate revenue already in hand where we could essentially redo the entire median, put brand new trees in, and everything would look pristine and kind of give us that gateway feel, if you will, where all of the trees will grow, at the same rate, and you won't sort of have this varying degree of tree heights and such. That's not where we're at right now. We have not identified an available funding source that would allow us to do that. And so what we've done is sort of try to find the best option that we have right now, given the amount of funding that we have. Would you agree with that, Nathan?
Yeah, I would agree. There's really kind of two types of trees that are out there. There's the Bradford pear and there's the Chinese pistache. They're different than the trees that were there along Monte Vista. If there are trees that it is discovered that need to be removed due to disease or age or construction activities, we would take the time to remove those at this time. One thing to note is the city previously had a revenue opportunity for installing landscaping and beautification, and it was through a federal program called the T program, Transportation Enhancement Activities, and that has since died up. The last project we did beautified Golden State Boulevard from Atherstone almost down to Tuolumne, 3 separate projects there. But that was the only landscaping revenue opportunity that the engineering staff was aware of, and that's dried up probably 5 years ago.
Absolutely. So that's, again, Councilmember Scare, I think we can keep moving on. It doesn't seem like this needs to be determined right now. This is very separate, but again, it's tangential, and I know that we have interest in that, so I think that we'll be kind of circling back with you guys to kind of see what we can do. And also tackling other medians, I think, in general, just to kind of look holistically at the city. Be good. So, sorry. Councilmember Scare, I apologize for hijacking your item.
And my final. The third part was, okay, Measure L was approved over a year and a half ago, and we're finally going to start next month, we hope? Is that?
That is, so there's a lot of activities that have to go on once you award the contract. We have to sign the contract. We have to ensure that the insurance documents are correct and we're not creating any liabilities. I know our contractor, Tiger Construction, is itching at the bit. They're wanting to get going. They have a busy construction schedule, and they've been able to fit us in early on. So I would imagine that if it's not middle to end of June, that it would be very shortly thereafter. We've put in our construction documents that we will have a kickoff meeting in June, and so there will be that opportunity to advertise to the public. We awarded a project, we're moving forward on it, we are officially kicking it off.
So now that we get this started, how soon can we start the next one? Since it may take another year.
So we are currently in design for the next project. Measure L, the first couple of years have larger projects up front. The corridors are longer, the scope of the project on the road segments are larger. The first year has 3 projects, West Main, East Avenue, and Golden State Boulevard. We are currently under design on Golden State Boulevard, and the goal of the Measure L program is to continue to provide these design services and have essentially shovel-ready projects. So if there is a call for projects on a state or federal level, we have projects that are ready to go. We can apply for those and leverage our Measure L dollars to receive future funds. That being said, it really comes down to a cash flow issue. If we are looking at expending nearly the first 2 years worth of Measure L funds, I don't have a specific date on when we could advertise the next project. That's something that we would have to consider.
Thank you.
Yes.
Nathan, I'm sure you were contacted by them and perhaps even Councilmember Scare, but so there's the truck issue, and I remember going to at least 1 or 2 meetings where they were assured that they were going to be able to get through. Then I was contacted just recently, and they were told that they've got to loop around a residential area with those big semis. I'm confused on where where that went from where it was in the meetings.
Yeah, so, when I became re-involved with the project, the decision was made that those medians would be closed. And we, as I became more familiar with the process, it was done on the interest of safety. As we do other medians throughout town, uncontrolled left-hand turns on arterials, collectors, expressways, we try to limit those as much as possible. I understand that that is impactful to the businesses. Staff understands that. The potential collision with a left-hand turn on a higher than probably existing speed roadway after we repave it, we close off some of the other medians, speeds are going to go up. So the impact of a left-hand turn collision, it outweighs, in my opinion, the impact to the one business.
Okay, additional comments and questions? What's the coordination we've been doing with the school right there? Osborne? I kind of know the answer, but you guys have been working hard, but what coordination have we done with them?
We have, yeah. We've reached out to the school, we've reached out to the principal, Mr. Ewing at Osborne, and we've reached out to the district. We've coordinated our plans and tried to allow for our construction to mutually benefit the school and the school district. They kind of have some plans that they're revising their site. Not sure exactly when that's going to come to fruition. So we've made the area as safe as possible. The first item of construction would be addressing the curb ramps right there at the intersection of Soderquist and West Main. Mm-hmm. And the idea is to get those done while school is out of session. And the road won't be repaved. Not all of the work will be done in the intersection, but the access for the pedestrians, a majority of that work will be done. And so we've tried to structure the timing and the schedule to allow for a majority of that work to be done during the summer when it's less impactful to the teachers, the parents dropping off their kids.
Right. And I know that we'll be incorporating higher visibility crosswalks, correct, at that intersection. And then I know, Councilmember Scare, you've done a good job about getting that safe route to school. I know talking with the county to finagle some money on Soderquist. So that whole area is going to be safer, correct?
It will be, yes. We will be installing improvements that currently do not exist right now that will increase the safety and enhance the area. Currently, the pavement is so dilapidated right there at the intersection. We've installed the high visibility crosswalks, but the sidewalk itself is holding the asphalt together. And so it's not as effective as it will be after it's been paved. There's some concerns with the traffic signal there. After the road is paved, new detection loops will be installed, and so that signal will be able to operate on a detection base. Right now it's operated on time, and so you'll see the left-hand turn onto Soderquist, you only get about 3 cars to go through just because it's based on time. And so if the demand is there, it should serve those folks.
And finally, you gave me a great segue. The great bottleneck from 4 to 2 lanes. I know that we aren't going to be able to do a lighted intersection there now, but are we prepping for it?
We are prepping for it, yeah. And so we also have a federally funded traffic signal project to install a traffic signal at that intersection at West Avenue South and West Main. We are going through the design. We've ensured that the West Main improvements incorporate the future traffic signal. So you'll see what's called a pork chop island. It's an island that separates turning movements. You'll see those installed without a traffic signal. The traffic signal project will come back in and install that. We are submitting our federally funded grant paperwork to Caltrans probably within the month of locking up those funds for that project.
I'm done. Yes, Councilmember Guzman.
Just coming back to the
Okay.
trucks and the business real quick. So didn't we agree in those meetings that we were going to provide that avenue for them so that they would stay in a business district and not have to go residential?
I don't remember.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't remember.
I'm just really concerned if because I remember going to these meetings and maybe Councilmember Scare, if we we assured them that that was gonna happen. I'm really worried that we're sending a huge semi into a residential area and not thinking that that's not gonna be a problem. I understand that turning left is problematic, I appreciate that, but I think there's more problems taking a semi through, 3 different residential areas to get back out onto that loop?
There's a couple different ways they could go, but yes, they would have to travel on less than adequate streets. If the council desires to revisit that discussion and would like to keep that open, it's not my recommendation, but if that's the desire, we definitely can do so.
Any other thoughts and comments and questions? Thoughts and comments and questions from the audience too. I don't know if we got to you yet. Yes, Mr. Treeweiler. Yeah, I know. That was a slip, but an appropriate one.
Yes, council, and I just wanted to thank staff for all the hard work and many hours they put into this project. I think they've covered everything that they could think of, and I think they've got an excellent plan here. And I also want to thank them for the 3 public meetings that we had available to the residents on West Main Street. And I think this will be a great improvement for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rouse. Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Puffer.
Hi, first I wanted to go along with Milt. I think the staff has done a great job. It's going to be a very fine project when it's finished. My concern is our next item, we're talking about a change order on Falkirk and Golden State from when we put a stoplight in there. And that project wound up being, I can't remember if it was 2 months or 3 months delayed. And I thought part of it was because of some problems with other entities we were working in conjunction with. And one of them I heard was TID, who you said has a part of this project. And number one, I hope that someone in the city is making sure with TID that TID has their ducks in a row and doesn't delay this project by 2 or 3 months. And I'm wondering if there's any kind of incentives to make sure that the utilities get their jobs done quickly when they have the opportunity to get that road in there. This project is going to affect a lot of businesses. And I know that there's a trampoline business that just opened up that's very dependent on vehicle traffic, as well as a fitness center out there that's dependent on vehicle traffic. And if this thing is preventing traffic to get it there any longer than it absolutely has to, how do we answer the businesses? Thank you.
Mr. Puffer makes a great point. What's the utility coordination we've done?
The utility coordination has mainly been through AT&T. AT&T has the majority of the poles. I believe they own all of the poles except for one, of which TID owns. Charter is on those AT&T poles, and so they communicate directly with Charter. We have reached out to both AT&T, well, all 3, AT&T, Charter, and TID. And the poles that need to get relocated, some of the work was started. You'll see right in front of, right at the corner of Laurel and West Main, they had started to relocate one of the poles. They tore up the sidewalk. They had their design wrong. They were going to relocate it in the wrong position, a position that would have been in conflict. And so staff went out there and put the brakes on them and said, no, you got to relocate it in the correct position. And so they're going back and redesigning. The poles that need to get relocated do not impact the first, if we call it, phase of work. And so there is still adequate time for the utility companies to come in and relocate their poles. One thing, one item of work that needs to be coordinated is there are some trees, I think 3 trees on the south side in the landscape strip that need to either be cut down or heavily trimmed. They will ultimately get removed, but they need to be trimmed or cut down before the utilities can physically relocate their overhead lines. So there has been a lot of coordination on them. It is staff's goal. We will do everything we can to make sure that the utility companies do not hold us up. do not hold the contractor up. They do not hold the project from reaching its milestones. The utility companies are operating within the city of Turlock right-of-way, of which we have an agreement that if they are operating within our right-of-way and we have a project, it is your responsibility to move your poles at your cost. And so all three of them are aware of that and they agree.
Thank you. Additional comments and questions from the audience on this item? All right, closing public participation, bringing it back to the council for further comments and questions. Yes?
So how expensive would it be to put some like banisters in that one area that can be removed, like during the normal time that it could be when there's a lot of flow of traffic, but if the semis were able to work at night or whatever, I'd rather us plan for this to work since we gave our word, and then if it doesn't, then we just keep the banisters in stationary for life and nobody has to worry about it.
I don't think the cost would be that significant. I mean, if we're talking about a $7.5 million project, if you're looking at a percentage, it would be less than 1%. But 1% is still $70,000. It wouldn't be that financially burdensome.
Okay. Additional comments and questions? Yes?
Yes, two things. You talked about the trees will have to be trimmed. Is that our crews doing that, or is that outside contractors, or?
That would be the contractor or the subcontractor that we are awarding to. It's within their scope of work to remove the trees, and so whether they remove them right off the bat, or we come in and trim them so they can relocate their lines, it wouldn't be in something that, say, Allison's crews are doing, or a separate contract that we need to go out and hire.
I was just curious that maybe we should get that done first to make sure that we don't hold up the utility. I wouldn't want to see anything that's going to make that any slower than what it may be. I mean, I don't want any chances there. So if we need to maybe suggest that those trees get trimmed first, maybe we should go there.
Okay, yep, we can do that.
And I'm kind of leaning towards the suggestion that Amy had over here on that one intersection. Actually, it's Radio, isn't it? Radio Street, right in there. Is that where that turnout is?
There's two. There's Radio and there's Davis, I believe.
And I think Radio is the one that affects the business, is it? I believe.
I think so.
The radio, yeah.
I'd kind of be interested in looking at it, because I know that I did get the calls, and I actually referred them, I think, to you or somebody in your office. I don't know what the final outcome, I never heard anything, so.
I met with two of the property owners, one on the south and one on the north, that both operate there. And we talked about these different options, or not this different option specifically, but we talked about the different options in the process, and the safety concerns versus the impacts to their business. So we did touch base with them.
Is there a way to bring back, I mean, if we approve this tonight, to bring back the pros and cons and kind of shows visually what this bollard aspect or this, whatever is being proposed?
Yeah.
Sorry, whatever that was. I don't visually know what it is, but yeah.
Yeah, no, we can definitely.
No, I know the street. I meant the actual.
On 10th Street.
Oh, on 10th Street. Yeah.
We can definitely propose that. One thing to keep in mind is who removes those bollards and what liability does that put the city under. But we can definitely explore these different options and bring it back. Just know that what you approve tonight, if we do have changes, there is the potential for a change order.
Right, absolutely. So what I'll do is if you could do that, and then if we could circulate it through the city manager's office to see if you all look like you want to bring this back to vote on that, I think that'd be great. Because I'm not against it, I just want to visually understand and how that works, because I know that safety is what overruled that idea, so I want to just make sure we don't take anything off the table that we haven't looked at. Any additional questions or comments on this? Okay, so what is the pleasure of council on this item?
I wholeheartedly move to advance.
All right, that's what I thought. We have a motion by Councilmember Scare, seconded by Councilmember Bublak on our first Measure L project. Clerk, please call the roll.
Awarding bid and approving an agreement in the amount of $7,465,000, Fund 218, with Tykert Construction, Inc. of Roseville, California, for City Project Number 1730, West Main Corridor Rehabilitation, appropriating and transferring the necessary funding for City Project Number 1730, West Main Corridor Rehabilitation, Councilmember Esquer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dehart,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Mayor Soiseth.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. Moving on, a request to approve contract change order number 2, final in the amount of $116,639.61 for city project number 14-28, intersection improvements at Golden State Boulevard and Folkworth Road, and accept improvements. Mr. Bray.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. Good evening again. And like you said, before you tonight is approving the final change order for the project intersection improvements in Golden State and Folkworth, appropriating the necessary funds, and authorizing the city engineer to file the notice of completion. This project is federally funded and constructed improvements at the intersection of Golden State Boulevard and Folkworth. Majority of the funds are provided from the Federal Congestion Mitigation Air Quality, or CMAQ grant, with a small portion of local funds. Council awarded the agreement to George Reed Construction on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2017. The contractor started work on July 31st, 2017, and the contract allowed for 125 working days. The contractor was asked to accelerate their schedule to have the intersection opened by Thanksgiving 2017. This change order includes a variety of cleanup items that occurred throughout the construction process. The main items of the change order are a result of schedule acceleration, delays associated with Union Pacific Railroad flaggers, and additional hot mix asphalt and curb and gutter. The cumulative change order percentage is 14% of the original contract amount. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Bray? Any questions or comments from the audience? All right, bring it back. What's the pleasure of the council on this item? Additional comments and questions are obviously okay too.
Move to advance.
All right, we have a begrudgingly a motion by Vice Mayor Jacob, seconded by Councilmember Scare for the motion, resolution in motion for all three.
Yes.
All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Approving contract change order number 2, final, in the amount of $116,639.61 for city project number 1428, intersection improvements at Golden State Boulevard and Folkworth Road, bringing the contract total to $1,330,492.06. Appropriating $186,280 to account number 215-40420-38001-224, transfers in from Fund 217 and 305, Folkworth GSB Signal 1428, and to account number 217-50511-48001-224, transfers out from Fund 215, Folkworth GSB Signal, to be funded from Fund 217 Unallocated Gas Tax Section 2103 Reserves for City Project number 1428, intersection improvements at North Golden State Boulevard and Folkworth Road. Accepting improvements for City Project number 1428, intersection improvements at Golden State and Folkworth, and authorizing the city engineer to file a notice of completion. Councilmember Esquer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dehart,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Mayor Soiseth.
Yes, the motion, resolution, and motion all passed 5-0. Thank you so much. Up next, item D, a request to establish the City of Turlock Parks, Recreation, and Public Facilities Department Adopt a Park program, Adopt a Park program guidelines. Director Van Gilder.
Mayor and council,
You
I
have a
have
special
the.
guest with you.
I do, and I
Who's
wanted
this
to
guy?
introduce him. Mr. Vargas has not had a lot of time before you, and so I wanted to introduce him to you. Juan Vargas is our staff services analyst, and he's been charged with putting together a new program that we're putting before you for consideration and the associated guidelines. And so with that, I will turn it over to him.
Thank you, Allison, Mayor, Council. So I'm passing around a proposed little flyer that we're gonna hopefully send out with the Adopt a Park program guidelines for the community here that is still here. I have it up here for your guys' viewing pleasure as well. So the Adopt a Park program, most of you are probably familiar with Adopt a Park, Adopt a Highway, and many municipalities have this type of a program to help with their maintenance, their projects, kind of facilitating donations. Here in Turlock, we don't have anything formal. We do have a lot of organizations, fraternities, sororities, service groups that come to the Parks and Rec Department, specifically helping us clean our parks. We have like the Rotary doing projects at Donnelly, just different communities. This last weekend we had Love Turlock, so we had 5 different projects going around, going on here in town. So what we're trying to do is kind of just create something more formal that allows them to continue what they're doing, but also give them the recognition that they deserve, and taking it even a step further to kind of help our maintenance staff, especially in our parks. We all know how tasked they are with our staffing levels and their level of work that they have to complete. So we're also proposing it like a 3-tiered kind of levels of sponsorship, which are our Good Neighbor Day. I'll go to that first. So we have a Good Neighbor Day, which is pretty much what we already have going on. That's when our service groups like NAC Fraternity comes in and wants to do a family event out at Columbia Park. We have the Alley Cats that want to come in and do a one-day cleanup. So that's what that's geared towards. We have our improvement donations right now we do memorial benches and trees. So we want to kind of expand it to allow people to help us get different amenities in our parks. And then we also have the Adopt a Park level sponsorship, which is we're kind of gearing it around 4 cleanups or projects a year, just to make sure people are invested, since we're kind of eventually going to show them off in our parks. In the guidelines, I kind of modeled it after City of Sacramento and City of Glendora. They had pretty good guidelines on what they considered good Adopt a Park opportunities. So with that, at the same time I was putting this together, we actually had a community member who's actually here, Mr. Surjit Singh, who came forth already wanting to do. He actually kind of posed it like, hey, I want to adopt a park. He's like, we adopted a highway, and we're just like, how convenient. We're actually working on something like that. So we're actually supposed to do it last meeting, but thankfully it got pushed to this meeting because he was already going to be here for their proclamation. So with the Adopt a Park opportunity, it gives us a chance to leverage resources in the community, kind of take advantage of people wanting to come in and do work, and in turn give them the recognition that they deserve. Everything from maybe quarterly coming here to council and saying all these people have helped us in our parks, in our activity guide that goes out seasonally, create a page on our website that says these are our Adopt a Park sponsors. These people have done Good Neighbor Days. These people have helped out with improvement donations, and these people have adopted a park. And those, of course, who've adopted a park, we will get signs made, just like you see the Adopt a Highway, but we'd create an Adopt a Park, and that would be at the entrance of our parks, and it would acknowledge the such and such community, such and such organization for coming in and adopting this park and making it that much better. So before you guys is just the suggested guidelines that we have put together, and in front of you guys is it's essentially a snapshot of the guidelines that we would give out to people. So when we're out doing our community events, community outreach, we'd be able to give out these little brochures to people and hopefully get them more engaged in the community. Another component that we've suggested in the program guidelines kind of addresses students that come forth to the city of Turlock. They want to do their community service hours through their high school. Right now, we only gear it towards groups because we always have a staff member there facilitating the cleanup or the project. So we never really do anything for just 1 or 2 high school seniors that are trying to get their community service hours, and we feel like we're losing out on those individuals. So to kind of help them and also help us, we're also proposing setting up 2 cleanups or projects a year and reaching out to the schools and the rest of the community and saying, hey, on this day, we're gonna do this cleanup or we're gonna do this project. Come out, get your hours fulfilled. That way we're not pushing away the youth that are coming forth wanting to do projects. If it's the the kid doing his Eagle Scout project, we don't want to push them away just because it's one individual. We want them to be able to do their projects, do their community service hours, but still fall within the realm of what we have to do here as a city. So, yeah, we're just proposing this Adopt a Park program. And like I said, Mr. Surjit Singh came forth as a part of the Sikh community wanting already to adopt a park. So hopefully if you guys decide for us to move forward with this, we already have a group lined up who's willing to adopt Donnelly Park. And we already said if this gets approved, we'll meet together, come up with 4 cleanup days or projects that they can do, and get a sign made up. That way we can start getting that out there, because he and I were talking about it. And if we get the word out there, then we see people in the community see who's helping out. They see, oh, I go to this park and I see that the Sikh community comes and helps out. So then it might encourage them to reach out to another maybe neighboring park, or maybe they can't adopt a park per se, but they can do a good neighbor day or a donation or something else. So it kind of just gets the word out there, gives people a visual of who's helping out in the community, and it gives people the recognition that they deserve for everything that they're doing. So yeah, the guidelines, quick little snapshot. If there's any questions about this, I'd be more than happy to.
Any comments for Mr. Vargas? Yes.
So I know we're revamping on our diversion program, and this might, you were talking about some of the students or Boy Scouts or whatever who try and do it like just twice a year. But
Yeah.
with our diversion program, we're offering people to do work as well, and maybe, so it should be more often. And then I was thinking, as you're saying it, Denair Park, maybe Turlock Gospel Mission and We Care could adopt that for us and kind of take a feeling like they're taking some ownership of that.
No,
So
I mean,
just ideas.
yeah.
I love this
Yeah.
stuff. This is great.
Thank you.
So any other comments? Yeah.
Hey, Juan, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Just a quick question. So I'm looking at the improvement here. I just look at the improvement donation. So we can actually have a bench installed?
Currently, yes. Currently, we have
In a park?
we have a memorial bench and a memorial tree. You can call it a program so far. So we have an application that people can come in and purchase a memorial bench, have a plaque or wording put on the bench. It also depends on the design of what's in the area. So if one park has slotted back benches, then it has to be slotted back benches with a bronze plaque. Other parks like Donnelly, they're solid back, so it's I think it's embossed on those ones. So it all depends on the design. But yeah, like if you wanted to purchase a memorial bench or a tree, you'd be able to do that, and then you would select a place, and then upon approval, we would go in and remove the old bench, put your bench in, and then you get your bench for the life of the bench, or plant a tree for the life of the tree.
Okay, so what would it cost to have like a Tom Howard bench put in Brad Bates Park, something like that?
So benches right now are right around $1,000. It's right around $1,000 for a bench. The slotted back benches with the bronze, because it requires a bronze plaque, or a little bit more, it's right around $1,200. But also, I mean, it varies. We work with Outdoor Creations, and they give us a quote, but it's right around $1,000 for most memorial benches in Turlock.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments from the audience? Yes, Councilmember Diart.
Is there any markup in those?
What was that?
Are we making any money on these? Is it just paying
I
the
mean,
cost?
we don't have to purchase a replacement bench, so it kind of gives us a boneyard essentially at the courtyard. So it's not like we don't get rid of the old benches, because they're built to last. I mean, I'm gonna say they're over 1,000 pounds each, so it's like solid cement rebar. So we have those out at the courtyard as we remove them.
So, let me be more specific. Is the cost from Outdoor Creations $1,000?
Yes, yeah, they give us the invoice, and that's what they
And that's a pass-through to whoever wants to sponsor?
correct.
Okay, so there's no opportunity for us to make it a money-making proposition?
I mean, if that's the direction
Pulling
you
your
guys
leg
want
there,
to
Juan.
go, then
It's
we
initiation
can.
for your first presentation. Come on, Councilman.
No, I mean, if you wanna pursue.
We're a little sensitive to revenue generation here.
So we can charge that for memorial bench in someone's honor, I guess. I don't know how well it will be received.
I guess I don't get one now, is that what you're saying?
Not at all. Any additional comments or questions up here? How about in the audience? Any questions or comments? All right, bringing it back. I think that we really do like this program. You guys have done a great job putting it together. Juan, Allison, your whole team. It's a great concept. I know community members have already talked to me about some other ideas with parks, and it kind of folds into this program. So I think it's going to catch like wildfire. It's going to be great. So with that, that's if we introduce it. So Councilmember Bublak introduced it, seconded by Councilmember Dehart. Clerk, please call the roll.
Establishing the City of Turlock Parks, Recreation, and Public Facilities Department Adopt a Park Program and adopting the Adopt a Park Program guidelines. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember Dehart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Mayor Soisek?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Juan.
Thank you, guys.
All right, now moving on to item G, our patient police chief has been waiting. Request to accept the City of Turlock Police Department 2017 annual report. Chief Anfar.
You didn't get it?
Broke that one. Don't touch this one. She That's right. It's supposed to be two-page view. Just click on that. See if that-
There we go.
You want to take a break? No, that's fine if you need to. Okay. Sorry. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So before you have our 2017 annual report for the Police Department, I want to thank our crime analyst, Deandra Wiley. She did an outstanding job putting together quite a few of these photographs. I also want to thank the rest of our team, my executive administrative assistant, Mary Souza, and her assistant, Sarah Bickle, and the numerous other individuals who were part of putting this document together for our team. So before you have our annual report, and I'm going to try to go as quickly as possible. It's rather extensive, and everyone has a copy. And for everyone that's here, there's copies back there for you. Take them. They're free of charge unless, council member, I can charge them $1 a piece for them. But feel free to take them home, read them, and they're available to you. So that's our front page for 2017. I thought it was extremely important that we recognize our honor guard and the flag of our country. Moving on, you will notice that in loving memory, I want to identify two very important people to us, and that was our chaplain and volunteer Al Updike, who worked alongside of us for 16 years in the Turlock Police Department. He is remembered and cherished, and as is Milt Sabanovich, who worked as a volunteer for 7 years. It's a position of honor for us to remember them and their memories and what they've provided for the city of Turlock and services for the police department. Moving on, it'll be the chief's message, and I'm going to go fast on that one. You can read that one later. We've got, you will see the two young ladies I spoke about in the bottom left-hand corner there, Mary and Sarah. They are part of the administration portion, my office, and they handle everything that comes through the police department, all documents, letters, correspondences, training, testing, backgrounds, you name it, they do it. They work hand in hand with Miss Eddie, and it's an honor to have that type of workforce with the police department administration. Moving on to the next page, that's the organizational chart for the police department, and it breaks our police department down from the top to the rest of our team, where you'll note between patrol, communications, animal services, traffic unit, and community-oriented unit. I will identify that, again, this is 2017, so the community-oriented unit is still there, but we do not have the community outreach engagement team any longer, but this is 2017. The statistics are also there for you for the police department, and they're identifiable. Our budget for 17-18 was approximately $19,600,000. Total calls for service, 108,378 CAD calls. Computer-aided dispatch is what CAD stands for. So the numbers are there for you, inclusive of arrests, 911 calls, DWI arrests, not involving collisions. Traffic citations for the year was 1,717. So you can just see that we've been very busy for 2017. I'd like to point out the field operations department and all of the statistics that they provide for us. You will note that we have in here use of force to your left-hand side, and I want to point this out to you because it's extremely important. I'm very proud of our department in the way that they have the trust of the community. You'll notice that in 2016, we had 37 incidents in the use of force involving 4,411 arrests. That is a 0.8% percentage rate of the use of force. 2017, we reduced that even lower with 33 incidents, and we had 4,430 arrests, so we dropped it by another 0.7%. So arrests went up by 4%, or 0.4%, but use of force went down. Sir Robert Peel's principle of law enforcement that was established as 9 principles. Principle number 4, the degree of cooperation of the public that can be secured diminishes proportionately to the necessity for the use of physical force and compulsion in achieving police objectives. That means that we have the trust of the community. We have people that understand when they've committed a crime, they're going to be arrested. Force is minimally used here in the city of Turlock. And I also want to commend my staff and my fellow officers. Because of the training they receive, they're able to address issues rather quickly. And I want to thank Jose Sanchez, our interim city attorney, who assisted us with our most recent ability to bring our crisis intervention training forth. We've been able to train the whole department using the remainder of our AB 109 monies that was specifically designated for that. And that training consisted of dealing with a multitude of different things that officers are expected to handle, inclusive of mental health issues, special needs, autism, et cetera, et cetera. So I just wanted to point that out to you. And thanks, Jose. The guys are very thankful to you. The guys and gals. We do have 4 female officers, and anyone that's interested in becoming a police officer, females especially, and please apply. The next pages are going to be our uniform patrol. You'll notice that for 2017, dispatch calls were 48,976, and self-initiated calls, those are the calls the officers initiate themselves, were roughly just under 60,000, and they're broken down in there, and I'm not going to spend a lot of the time on there. Please look at that and review it. It's pretty extensive, the amount of work that the officers have done. The SRO, School Resource Officer Program, extremely proud of this program. We have 2 school resources officers. We work in conjunction with the school district. Earlier tonight, you heard someone say that Turlock School District is one of the best school districts. I hate to correct a community member. Turlock Unified School District is not one of the best. They are the best. And it's an honor that we get to work hand in hand with them, with our school resource officers, and they develop a mentoring and coaching atmosphere there, along with applying security measures to ensure the safety of the students and the staff, which develops a higher level of ability to have a good education experience. I can tell you the 2 officers in the bottom corner or up on top there, there's videos of them doing some funny dances in some of the things that the kids do. The next page is our traffic safety unit. You'll see 3 motorcycles. One's a sergeant and 2 officers for the city of Turlock. They're out there working diligently to ensure the traffic safety for our community. They work hand in hand with the parades, et cetera, and they developed different tactics in order to bring safety to our community in regards to traffic enforcement, awareness. We work hand in hand with multiple other agencies to bring other agencies into our city to assist us with those incidences in order to bring down traffic collisions. And we've been successful in reducing traffic collisions this year and also last year. So those are the statistics there. Moving on, we do have bike patrol and trike patrol. Those are collateral duties. They're just additional duties that our patrol officers sign up for under overtime. It gives them an opportunity to work with kids, work with the community, and be out in our public safety open house, along with working at the parks. You'll see the 2 officers there in the corner. They were actually at the skate park. The next page is our dispatch and communication center, the lifeline of police and fire and our community. These ladies work diligently, 12 hours minimum. They do a heck of a job, and they provide for the safety of our community. There are statistics along each one of these pages, and as I stated, I'm going to go rather quickly, so please stop me if you have a specific question. Our community outreach response and engagement team would be this next page on the left-hand side. That was our core team. They were grant funded. That team ceased to exist at the end of 2017. We've had some staffing shortages, and we've had to also make adjustments in regards to a different team that I wanted to put together that's addressing a lot of our gang and violent crimes. CRT, HNT, and SWAT critical response team is the HNT, hostage negotiation team, and the SWAT team. So CRT is the combination of both. And those are the gentlemen that take on the additional training. They are, again, patrol officers. They do this on overtime basis, and when the need arises, they will leave their patrol duties. Obviously, we have to backfill with overtime, but they're highly trained, highly respected throughout the county, and work hand in hand with our other county SWAT teams. We do work with the chaplaincy program. I'm proud to say the Turlock Police Department started the chaplaincy program in this area, and they work hand in hand with the police department and the fire department. One area that's really important, Councilmember Blue Black addressed it. We have a diversion program for our issues that are quality of life, and some of our homeless individuals do engage in illegal activities, and those activities are addressed. However, our homeless engagement multidisciplinary team works hand in hand with multiple service providers, our behavioral health center, our community paramedic team. But these, again, are police officers that receive additional training in how to deal with mental health issues. And they do work on an overtime basis 2 days out of the week. I will point to the picture on the bottom. Those are our 3 officers. Nicole White on the far right, she just resigned last week, which is a huge impact to this unit, but we have 2 other officers that are willing to get the training and step up, so hopefully to expand that unit for 2018. Our honor guard, they look good. They look good. Very proud of them. You'll see right next to that is our animal services unit. Do an outstanding job for the city of Turlock. Mr. Mayor, you have a dog from that unit, and we've got a couple more for you if you want to stop by.
I literally dropped one off on Saturday, so yeah, I found it at the post office.
But they do an outstanding job
They do.
for the city and for the community. And I know sometimes we hear from community members, why did I get a ticket? We have to remember that we must maintain the safety of our community. Our animal services go out and they ensure that the pets are vaccinated and licensed. Because God forbid your dog bites somebody, you want to make sure that the person, number one, is going to receive the appropriate medical care, and for sure the dog doesn't have rabies. So it's a necessity that's out there. But they do a heck of a job in maintaining the animals, taking care of the animals. My son had to call them out for a dog at Turlock Rural that he was able to get into their pen area there, and the dog would not come to him. And as soon as Animal Services came there, he said, she was the dog whisperer. As soon as she walked there, the dog came up to her and pretty much jumped in the back of the truck. So we do a very good job out there. I'm very proud of them. So moving on, we do have their statistics on that side. I'll let you review that. We do have a very robust crime prevention unit that's run by our crime specialist unit, and in that unit we have the Citizens Academy. We've changed the name of the Citizens Academy. For some reason, we were unable to really start a Hispanic Academy, Citizens Academy, and we've changed it to community because it's much more relevant. It's a community academy, and it allows individuals to come and see what we do in the police department, and it's run for 9 weeks, and it's a great program, and you'll see the picture at the bottom. Majority of those are CSUS students. Pretty outstanding, and one of them is going to be an applicant for police officer training. National Night Out is coming up. Everyone needs to get ready for that. We're going to have a great time, barbecue and driving around and having a good time, and PAL's going to be out there. I'm very proud of this, that PAL is going to be a big part of it, working with Parks and Recs. We're bringing that back, but National Night Out was a huge event. Mary, you had fun? I think you went to Bounce House, didn't you?
I did at one point, yeah.
Yeah, you're brave. No Bounce House for me. Plenty of cookies, no peanut butter, but there were plenty of cookies. You'll see that our Blue Santa operation program is a huge success. Unfortunately, we didn't have the numbers for 2017 that we had in 2016, but hey, $23,000 for 2017 that we were able to provide families for. It's pretty good thing. So moving on, I want to get through to our volunteers. This is a huge program that the police department started years and years ago, our volunteers in police service. You talked about the parade and having extra staffing. Our volunteers are integral to that. We don't have the officers to be able to bring them in and staff quite a few of these events. And the volunteers are specifically trained in traffic control, and they do a heck of a job. And the amount of hours they put in is just unbelievable. Great program, great program. And wrapping it up, we have our watch programs, Neighborhood Watch, Business Watch, School Watch, Rape Aggression, Defense Training. We work hand in hand with Cal State Police Department, CSUS, and putting that training on. As a matter of fact, we have classes set up right now for it. And the most favorite for most of you that is coming up right now, can you take a guess? And here we are. Look who we got. We have Varick and Kaiser, our two canines. People love our dogs, so it's awesome. I just learned that if you're barbecuing, you don't want Varick near your barbecue. He's not afraid to get up on a hot barbecue and take the steak. Not afraid. So, but the dogs are wonderful. They're great around kids and people, and they're a big plus for the department. Our Explorer program has just gone through the roof. We started, we had gotten all the way down to 6 Explorers. We're now at above 22. Explorer program is based out of the Boy Scouts post, and this is the start of our recruitment process and getting the youngsters aware of law enforcement, the careers they want to move into. We have a police captain, police lieutenant, police sergeant that were explorers. So it's a huge benefit to the community and to our young adults, especially learning responsibilities and understanding that sometimes taking the high road is hard, but it's the right thing to do. So it's an important program. Very proud of it. Retired Captain Jeff Lopes is heading that program for us as a volunteer. Our recruitment team is next online. So we've really pushed up the recruitment team. We go to multiple different academies. We've gone to military graduations. We've made outreaches to the schools and been present at colleges, junior colleges. So we're doing a real good job on that, and reach out as far as we can to get as many good applicants as we can. Special Operations, Captain Steve Williams, and the detectives at the bottom there. Special Operations has professional standards. That's our unit that handles training, permitting processes, is now acting one short, but he's taking on additional roles as the PIO and is doing a great job. You'll look at the next portion of that, which is also professional standards, handles all of the internal affairs, complaints, and so forth. TNET and SDEA, those are Turlock Narcotics Enforcement Team and Stanislaus Drug Enforcement Agency. Those two units are no longer active for 2018, but they were very prominent in 2017, as you can see by the statistics. Records unit, they're our lifeblood. They handle all documents, ensuring that the documents are properly recorded, properly entered. They take care of the public requests that come in through our front lobby. They send everything that needs to be processed to the court systems, and they maintain our UCRs, which are Part 1 crimes statistics that are required to be reported to Department of Justice and FBI. The next charts are basically all of our crime stats for 2017. We did have a 5% drop from 2016 in overall crime statistics. Our 5-year average on this chart, you'll see for the 5-year average, which gives you a larger projection of what's going on, we have a 7% decrease overall. The next few pages are charts. Our support team continues with our cadets and analysts. You'll see I mentioned that we have our public safety analyst along with our part-time assistant to her and payroll. And in the bottom right corner is Deandra, who put this whole report together, and combining all the information, the charts, the graphs, the pictures, did an outstanding job. Social media, we're past 10,000 already for Facebook followers, and as you can see, our social media outlet is grown immensely. I'm up all hours of the night. Some of you in here may realize that when I respond to you. It is addicting, I'll tell you that, but I think we're ahead of the game. I recently was in some training in San Diego, and they were talking about social media, Twitter, how to use Boost, and it was interesting. We're already doing all of that, and they're talking to the larger agencies to start doing it, and we're ahead of the game. So I'm pretty proud of that. Background, that's our backgrounds investigations unit. They are Peace Officer Standards and Training certified in the state of California. They are highly sought after. We have had the last 5 years, each one of our inspections through the state inspections of all of our records, our backgrounds, we have scored 100%, 0 deficiencies. As a matter of fact, Post has asked us to review some of their forms, and our background investigators did find a couple of mistakes, which have been fixed. Very proud of our background investigators. They put through quite a few backgrounds. Property and evidence. It's the lifeblood of the police department. Everything that is seized goes through property and evidence. I got to tell you, when they built the facility, they thought there was enough room. It was full by the next month. Yeah. So some of these things are pretty big that have to be held for years and years and years. I do want to point out that we also have our prescription drop box, and that's for all of our citizens. It's in our lobby. Anytime you need to bring your prescription meds, you can drop it off there. You just put it in the plastic bag, pull the lid open, and drop it off, and we take and have it destroyed properly. Don't flush it down the toilet or anything like that. I'm trying to move fast. Special marathons. We are involved very much in the Peace Officer Memorial and quite a few events. And we have had a huge support from our community, the kids, and as you can see from the pictures in here, we have community members dropping food or other items off on a regular basis. You'll see there is a picture in there with one of our officers. Let me move to the page that I'm talking about. One of our officers gave a seatbelt ticket. You'll see this in the news every year. Gave a lady a seatbelt ticket. Immediately after that, she was involved in a horrific accident, and the seatbelt saved her life. So every year, she brings pastries to the police department on that date. And every year, the TV channels and everything want to do a story. So I think that's outstanding. So moving through, we had our open house, public safety open house. So the pictures of that event, it was excellent. We had over 3,000 people showing up. A little warm, but it was fun. And then our annual recognitions and so forth, our awards and retirement recognitions, our Officer of the Year, our Support Person of the Year, citizen recognitions. We had several citizens that were given awards. So as we progress through, retirements have gone through, and that's kind of sad when we have retirements, but that's the way it is. Peace Officer Memorial for 2017, you can see, had a pretty good turnout from the police department, and all of those people, with the exception of detectives, were on their days off. They're there to support and never forget the individual officers that lost their lives. Those are our fallen heroes. It's important that they're included in this annual report. They'll be included in every single annual report as long as I'm the chief. They will never, ever be forgotten. We will remember them forever. It's only through remembering their commitment to service and commitment to our community that we honor their sacrifice. And finally, the Peace Officers Code of Ethics. It's extremely important to me. It's important to our team members. It's recited every time there's a promotion or if they're hired. It says everything that law enforcement is meant to be. And with that, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Great job. Absolutely. Really good job being the animator. Quickly, can you go back to slide 39, just the part 1 crime statistics? And overall, while crime is down, there's a little bit of an increase on the forcible rape and the aggravated assault, but kind of a big spike in robbery. And can you kind of talk to that and just what we can do more, what support we can give you to assist with those things? I know you guys had some rape prevention, rape aggression defense courses, and what are things that we can do as a council to help you bring those numbers down?
So when you, I'm sorry, where's it going? So as a council, just the support you're providing right now for law enforcement assists us with the amount of staffing that we have. When you look at forcible rapes, rapes are not really preventable by law enforcement. They're mostly created through the person knows who the other person was that attacked them. So, you know, between the schools and law enforcement and the colleges and parents and family members, especially with our young ladies, you know, ensuring that, you know, when they're out with somebody, they're out in groups, they don't accept drinks that are not in containers, closed, ensuring that they don't put up with individuals who treat them badly, whether it's husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, or any other relationships. It's imperative that we continue to get that message out, and those messages are going out. We have quite a few programs with Women's Haven, et cetera. Our courts are now on top of the prosecution of a lot of these cases. In fact, in case officers, when I started, we called it choking. You know, he choked her. There is no choking. Choking is when you get food lodged in your throat. It's called strangulation. It's attempted homicide. And officers have been trained in that. The district attorney has trained her staff in it, and we're training judges in it, because you'd be amazed when we go to court on a strangulation case for domestic violence or a strangulation case involved in a rape. Judges don't charge those. They don't have the training to understand that when someone puts their hand on your throat, it's the intent to kill you, and that pressure on your throat is strangulation and causes inflammation. So as our training progresses, so does our ability to address these issues, but having an ability to stop rape That's more of education and individual protection. Robberies are property taken by force. And quite frankly, when you don't hold people accountable in prisons, and you release state prisons to serve the rest of their time in the county jails, and the county jails release the other individuals out on the street, you're going to have that increase. And then when you take petty theft, and you reduce the issues with petty theft, and you say that, okay, now you got to steal $900, these people are stealing them left and right, and now when they use force to retain the property that they stole, it becomes a robbery. So as you see, the more you get exposed to a simple theft, the use of force changes the parameters of it greatly. So there's not a whole lot this council can do, except at the legislative point to change some of these laws and ensure that what you did earlier today in regards to a Safe California initiative, those are things you can do as a council, and you've done it. You just did it tonight. So just please stay aware of the initiatives that come out. You know, if it says safe schools, let's make sure it says something, there's something in there about a safe school, and it doesn't change your laws in regards to criminals. So hopefully I answered your questions. And that's another reason why I wanted the 5-year average put in there, because it's much more accurate, and you can see a bigger spread in regards to some of your issues. You see for 5 years, robbery has, the average is 49%. It's lower than the 55, but it's still 49%. Much more accurate, but it's still high. It's still high.
Yeah, well, my hat's off to the men and women in your department for getting the overall crimes down and working hard to this. So this is great. So if there is something that we can do, please let us know immediately.
Well, you're doing it, and the men and women in the department appreciate the community's efforts. You know, community policing, that's what it's about. You can't depend on just one aspect of law enforcement to do that. We all have a responsibility, and our community's heard it loud and clear, and they continue to hear it from me. Call us, notify us, ensure that you keep things locked, keep your windows closed, trim the bushes down so we can see in, leave lights on, don't let your mail, I can go on and on and on. And our community's doing it. They are, and it's, I'm very grateful for it.
If there's no other comments up here, any comments from the audience on this item? Other than I think we're all very excited about this, and thank you so much for providing all this information. Great news in here. So bringing it back, though, we would like to entertain a motion to accept this annual report.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All right, I have a motion by Councilmember DeHart, second by Councilmember Bublak. Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you pointing out that the action for this item will be a motion and not a resolution as indicated on the agenda. So the motion will be accepting the City of Turlock Police Department 2017 Annual Report. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Mayor Soisa?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to staff updates. We have none for 1 and 2. We have a verbal update regarding SB1 funding from Mr. Bray.
Yes, good evening, Council. We have an excellent update for you. The California Transportation Commission last week voted to approve the City of Turlock's Folkerth Interchange project for additional funding.
The 1 million, 2 million, what are we looking at?
$3 million.
That's right. That's what I
$9,000 for a total funding source from SB1 funds between the regions, formula funds, and the statewide competitive funds of nearly half of the project cost, $5,500,000.
Yeah, my hat's off to staff. Good job. You guys did a great job.
And I also have one other update. As I'm sure you are all aware, and the public is aware, Marshall Street is closed right now. We were contacted by the railroad. The railroad let us know that they need to come in and revise their track. They need to raise their track, no more than 1.5 inches to 2 inches.
We've heard this story before.
We have heard this story
Mr.
before.
Ray.
And so luckily, Allison's staff, I'm very thankful for them. They were able to mobilize, and they're able to assist the railroad with making this happen. Again, if we do not participate in this, the railroad will come through and do it in their fashion. So it provides for a much smoother operation. So the road should be open no later than Thursday. There's a possibility it may be open late tomorrow night.
Thank you so much. And Allison, when you see your crew, actually, I think I'll be out there tomorrow. I'll be sure to say thank you. Perfect, and I think something that Nathan didn't mention is that for SB1 funding, this is just started, and was only room for one project in the entire county. And Folkerth Road, thanks to you all being ready and shovel-ready, was able to come get the $3 million that Stancog allocated, but then went for the competitive funds, which is an additional $3 million at the CTC, and that's what just honestly icing on the cake. So half of that cost, and so now we can use the other money that we had set aside for other projects within the city.
That is correct. The project was funded by CFF funds, developer fees, so those would then be available for use on other CFF funded projects.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Great job. All right. Moving on, written update from Fire Department is enclosed. Nothing from Muni and Parks, and then Police Department. You guys did a great presentation earlier, and then there's also a written update within that. Matters too late for the agenda or non-agenda items. I don't see any. Council items for future consideration. Looking left, yes, Councilmember Scare.
Yes, I had a couple of thoughts. I do this every once in a while. My wife says, huh? Anyway, we just went through a long, tenuous, first of all, Bob, Mr. Lawton, again, welcome to Turlock. Good, glad to have you. Glad we finally got that resolved. But on the heels of this, it took us nearly a year to accomplish this. And I've been thinking a little bit about some of the suggestions that Amy had about being a little bit more ready in case situations like this pop up. I was wondering if we could maybe look into the possibility of having like an assistant city manager, deputy city manager, we call them whatever we want. But again, there needs to be a step, I feel there needs to be a step in place so that we don't drop one of our directors into a slot for a year, which I think was totally unfair to you, Bob. You did the best you could with what we gave you, and I don't think we should have had him in there for that long. Had we known the process was going to take this long, we could have done some kind of a rotation with the directors. But even then, I think we should consider having some sort of an assistant or deputy city manager in place so that we avoid this type of situation again.
I love that idea, and I know that there's other cities that have done different hybrids. I'm not too keen on adding a new position, but I like the idea of taking current directors and really trying to develop them and have them have added responsibility where they're working hand in hand with the city manager on more broader issues than just their department. I think that's great. I think City Attorney Sanchez, you probably have some ideas, and then Mr. Lawton has already said that even though he's starting a little bit later, he's already got his wheels turning. So I think that we're primed for a suggestion like that when you come in, and we can agendize that and go forward. So it's a great idea, Councilmember Scare. Anything else? You're good? Yes, Councilmember Blue Black.
So when we were interviewing Mr. Lawton, he had an idea or something that he does elsewhere, and I want us to have the transparency he described from where he came. So what he did is anytime there was a PRA, he just posts it, or has some of his staff post it, so that if anybody else is asking the same question, it's out there. I think that's just one way that we can start opening up what's going on, it's so that nobody thinks we're hiding anything, and I think that's a great idea, so hopefully we can get that as soon as you get in, or maybe sooner.
Perfect, yeah, absolutely be thinking about it. What in New York, I know you have FOIA, but what's the equivalency of the Public Records Act request?
It's not as, I would say it's not as broad as it is in California.
Welcome to California.
Well, I told you, I love the Brown Act because there are very few gray areas.
Yeah.
It's pretty much black and white.
Great.
It's tilted heavily in favor of the public.
Perfect, thank you so much. Any additional items? I would like to mention that I did hear you loud and clear, especially the two of you, Councilmember Escare and Councilmember DeHart, on the cannabis issue when in the revenue generation workshops. I think it is appropriate to be exploring that idea of talking with the community on cannabis and what that looks like. And I do think a series of workshops and really engagement and education is there. So I don't know if the two of you are willing to kind of talk with City Attorney Sanchez on some ideas and maybe bring it forward to the council a little bit later to keep that conversation going. I know a gentleman discussed that. I think we owe it to the community to have that discussion, if you guys are okay with that. Perfect. All right, moving on, council comments. Do you have a council comments to the left, to the right? Yes, Councilmember DeHart.
Mayor, on the last subject about cannabis, I was expecting Mr. Warder to make a comment or two earlier this evening. He did not, could not stay. But he apprised me, and we're no doubt aware of it, that we actually have delivery services now in town. And they're actually mobile dispensaries, operated primarily by cell phone orders. So it's not just a brick and mortar installation anymore, it's mobile. And we need the importance of the discussion and what we're committing to in terms of discussing with the attorney is the fact that it's here. This is not something we're trying to decide whether or not we want it. It's here. So we absolutely must, in some fashion, deal with it. We need to come up with some sort of policy. And oh, by the way, revenue generation is a side issue. That's a benefit. That's not the motivation. The reality is that there is, in fact, in town. It's here. Just ask any high school student; they'll tell you. And the biggest score in town is on a high school campus. So we need to get this resolved in some way or another.
Good. Any additional comments or questions? Questions, sir. Any comments? No. All right, moving on. Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, that's all right. We'll add plus Terry. All right, come on up. Yes.
I was thinking I might not speak tonight, but
That's
I'll
okay.
try to make these very, very quick.
You're totally fine.
Are we still talking about a public safety tax measure to put on a ballot? Is that still on the table?
So I think I requested the city manager to ask the council members, and I don't know the results of that, but to bring that forward. So the majority of the city council didn't want to bring that forward as an item.
Because it's such a short time frame, it's not going to happen.
It's a short time frame. We do have to turn that in by July, and there's a lot of lead-up efforts that need to happen.
Yeah, they talked about a poll,
I believe
paying
that-
for a poll to be done and then getting results and
We
then.
received that information from Ms. Pitt a little while ago, and then again, based off that information, I asked council to talk to the city manager if they wanted to have that agendized to go forward with the poll, which would cost money. And I believe, did a majority say yes or no? Majority said,
What, no to the survey?
no to bringing back a poll. Yes, city
Oh, I
attorney.
And just for the record, the question was more for scheduling purposes as to whether to bring it back at an agenda, at a meeting such as this one. And there wasn't any response from the council as far as, yes, for schedule purposes, we want to discuss.
Yeah. So what that is we get polled as a council, whether we want staff who have very limited resources and limited time, whether we want them to explore it further. Not saying we vote for it or against, like Jose
Yeah.
said. So
Okay.
that's not coming forward on any agenda.
Okay, so it's not going to go forth on another agenda to come up and talk about this?
No, unless a majority of the council would like to bring that forward, no.
I was just kind of curious what the status was, because we talked about, and I wondered if they came up with a percentage amount that they might suggest, if there was kind of a timeline, what there might be a hoped-for amount? No? Okay. Because I had not heard about Measure L before tonight, and it sounds like that was a huge success.
Measure L was a huge success. It was a half-cent sales tax, but that was on, I believe, its third try. There was a lot of effort that went into that. Almost every elected official endorsed it. There was not a visible opposition to it. It was well thought out about a year in advance. There was a lot of polling. I know this because I'm the vice chair of SANCOG, and we were putting that together.
Yeah.
Additionally, the polling information, like you just said about percentages for public safety, the polling numbers help indicate where that money should go, whether it should go to schools or other things. And so that's similar with public safety, is that information is valuable, and it's just there's a short time span here. But that does not eliminate it for another election in the future.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you want to put that kind of time and effort into it, you've got to do it right.
And you need partners in the community as well. We need public safety partners, we need partners in the community. I know you'd step up for sure, but that's huge. It's hugely important for the success of the sales tax.
I was reading that Measure L was expected to generate $960 million.
Yeah, countywide.
Oh,
countywide.
yeah, for city, county, and city sales tax
Correct, yeah.
to be divided.
Correct, divided into regional programs and then regional projects and then some of the local streets and then some safe routes. We divvied it up. And so we'll get like $78 million for local roads to us specifically. And so that should show you where
Where it can go.
where it can go, absolutely.
Let's work on that.
Absolutely.
Okay, one last question. I had heard on Thursday, May 24th, day after tomorrow, there's going to be a 4 o'clock meeting on the issues of homelessness. Do you know anything about that?
So that's the Turlock Downtown Property, I'm looking at staff, Turlock Downtown Property Association, they must have scheduled their follow-up meeting with the mission, gospel mission. Correct, and it is open to the public if you'd like to attend.
It's going to be here?
I believe it's at the gospel mission. Oh, it's here? Perfect, so 4
Okay.
4 PM, yes.
So it's not a special meeting, it's something else?
No, there's not a quorum of the council, and if there is, we need to inform the city manager. About
You don't
ground
have enough
violation.
meetings, right?
Right. I believe you attended last time. Yeah, and I attended, so there's just 2 of us. Yes. All right, we can Rochambeau for it afterwards. We'll make sure there's only 2 of us there, but
Okay.
it's open to the public.
Perfect, that's all I want, thank you.
Thank you so much. I love this, Mr. Bates, yes, would you like to?
Is there an update on the ad hoc committee on campaign finance reform?
Absolutely. So on council items for future consideration, that will be coming forward by the end of June. Absolutely. So, thank you. So we kind of devolved into public comments, so that's okay. Moving back in, council comments. Okay, closed session. What do we have, City Attorney?
Few items in closed session, Mayor. 2 items will not be on closed session agenda, A and B. 13A and B, which is the city employee appointment and conference with labor negotiators for the city manager. That won't be heard, but we do have a few others. Conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. Public employee appointments pursuant to Government Code 54957B1, title City Attorney, and conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6A, also title City Attorney. And the last item, conference with labor negotiators under 54957.6 for all your represented units and unrepresented employees.
All right, well, just before we close, again, Mr. Lawton, thank you so much for coming out and becoming a part of this Turlock family. We're very excited for you. So with that, who would like to motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember DeHart. All those in favor say aye. We're adjourned to closed session. Thank you.